Welcome back to the Art Cafe. This is episode 107. I'm recording this episode on March 18th, and I invited my best friend, Ash Thorp. We talked about current state of things with coronavirus pandemic and how it's affecting artists and people alike. With this episode, we wanted to encourage people to stay positive, look for good sources of news if you want to stay informed, and then take an opportunity because this is probably one of the better times to actually learn new skills. I hope you're gonna enjoy this one, and let's go. The Rings and the Ronas podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool too, sharing the birthday with Brendaloni.
Brendaloni. Yeah, you have the same day birthday.
Yeah.
As the fatty Schwabi.
It's messed up.
I have the same birthday as the Mr. Rings.
Yeah. How ironic is that? That's so weird.
Pretty ironic, right?
And you're the same age too, which is even crazier. So
yeah. Well,
you're 45 years old, dude.
Do I look 50? Maybe it's the glasses.
Nah, you look young.
He's what, like 89? What is he?
You got those fast food filled cheeks right there. It's fucking puffed up. Puff Daddy cheeks, dude.
That's
Are your
the
cheeks
daddy's
sponsored
cheeks.
by Puff Daddy?
The daddy
voluptuous,
cheeks.
Dude. Your cheeks could audition for a J-Lo music video and whip everybody. Dude.
Yeah, they could. This is what happens.
Your left cheek is called Dunk, and the other one's called Kadunk. All right, yeah.
This is what happens when you have a toddler that doesn't go to sleep until 12.
Yeah, well, it's interesting.
That fat dad bod.
It's interesting too about all this whole thing that's going on. I think there was a lot of people that were curious about working remote, and then now that there's this mandatory thing for everybody to work remote, it's kind of cool. I mean, there's people that I know are like tripping out, like, oh no, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then there are some people who are like, finally, yes. And I know you're one of them, to have to be working at home again.
Yeah.
It's good and bad, but at the same time, it's pretty cool because working from home is actually really good. People were asking me, oh, how are you dealing with this isolation thing? I'm like, it's awesome. I love it. I really
like that meme I've sent you.
Yeah.
Which film was that from? Goodfellas? Yeah, it was from Goodfellas. When they were laughing.
I don't know if you started showing me that one.
I think I did. I don't remember. We've sent so many memes to one another.
Probably the best thing from coronavirus is the epic memes.
The memes, yeah.
I
mean, all right. So
dude.
It's.
You know what I'm talking about.
It's still December. Oh, December. What am I saying?
It is December. It's December. You're wrinkly.
It's March. It's March 18 as we're recording it. It's gonna be probably released over the weekend. So as of today, there is no quarantine in the United States, but there are countries that they do have quarantine, like Italy and Spain, which is not. I mean, it's not ideal. I cannot express, like, I have no idea what it is out there. I can just only imagine based on the information that's being presented to us, but I think it's coming to US.
It's already
anytime.
Here. Yeah, it's already
They call it there's certain counties in California that already do it. They call it what do they call it? Settle in place or something like that.
Oh.
And basically you can get the misdemeanor ticket for just wandering around for nothing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They already are doing it in some counties. They are doing it, I think, in Palm Springs as well. But dude, like on one end, it's like free country, you know, constitution, it's free country, constitution, all that stuff. But on the other hand, dude, people are fucking crazy. I mean, I understand this is not. There's so many misleading information that's out there. I try not to read to any of that. I usually just go CDC or local health department just to get like actual information on what's going on. And it's actually, you know, and I normally don't care about news, but this is like a situation where I want to be prepared to know what's going on, more or less. So I just like every other day or daily, I'll just check the health department just to get an information what's going on. Mm-hmm. They usually post information about the county and also like some of the things that are going on. So it's good to know, you know. I don't think it's going to be, you know, I might be wrong. Who knows? We don't know. I don't think it's going to be as terrible as some people say. I don't also think it's going to be just as mild as others are saying. It's somewhere in between. Yeah. So who knows?
I do respect the approach that people are having, though, which is like respecting the possible potential danger. This has never happened. I remember when SARS and bird flu came through America, and everybody's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, because it wasn't spreading as much. I mean, a lot of people died, and I mean, bird flu would if the bird flu had the same contraction number as this disease, we would be fucked.
Yeah, seriously, a legit plague, you know.
Yeah,
so, yeah. So it's not as bad.
It was like 20% death rate. Like that's like country and every shuttering. But anyways, the positive, I want to focus on positives because like a lot of people, fuck that. A lot of people who are listening to the podcast right now, this special episode, are here just to hear something positive, obviously, like get some entertainment and whatnot. So, you know, I asked,
let's get like, the people what they want. We're all going to die. You're worthless and you're not going to amount to anything. So just kill yourself now.
Worthless. Oh my God. What the fuck?
Obviously joking.
You worthless pieces of shit listening to this podcast from outside of the United States.
If you're listening to this right now, you suck.
Yeah. I'm joking. No, like I've said like, hey, this is like a good time to get people, you know, get some good vibes because everyone's sitting at home, whether they like it or not. And we are sitting at home because we do it all the time anyways, most of the time.
All of the time.
Like there's no change for us.
Awesome.
Yeah. And you know, I said like, yeah, let's do it. And then you were like, yeah, I don't know. And then you were like, it was an hour later, dude, we should totally do a podcast.
Yeah, it was like 2 years later, dude. It's true though. You know how I roll. That's how Poppy rolls, dude.
You get that idea in your head.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe we should do a podcast. Yeah.
And obviously we asked, you asked and I asked on social media if people have any questions. We will definitely jump into that later down the road. We haven't spoken in a while. Dude, what was the last podcast we did was a year ago, actually.
We talked.
We talk every other minute. We talk, obviously. On the podcast, however, I think the 100th episode that was last year. That was the last time we did one. Mm-hmm. And you are definitely the guest that shows up the most on this thing.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I just run out of ideas.
Yeah. Just bring that loser back in. Yeah.
I don't know. I like interviewing people and talking with artists, and you know, I had a director, like animation director, recently, and trying to get some good people on the podcast. It's great. Obviously, you learn from them as well. But then again, like talking with friends,
nothing beats that.
Yeah, nothing beats that. It's just fun.
It's there's a second hand that's easy to just get to the points faster, and it's easier because when you're talking with a stranger, you just whole like dance kind of thing you have to do. You're, okay, like what? Oh, you like this, and and then you have to do it in real time. So, yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of things changed since last time we spoke officially to the public.
Yeah, I'm 37 years old
Together.
now.
Yeah, year old. Happy birthday, by the way, because that's your birthday today still, as we're recording it. Yeah.
I got
Still
25 minutes worth of my birthday, and I'm going to fucking
old.
juice the shit out of it.
You're getting old. You're getting bold.
Yeah, dude. 0 fucks. Yeah.
A lot of things just have changed, because like I remember we were just the last time we did episode together, we were just started doing your new film. Mm-hmm. We talked about The Passage. There's a new one that you've been bombarding me with, the BTS all the time.
My Star Wars stuff?
Yeah. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah, we should talk about that if you want to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's a huge project. There's a lot of common questions that come with that one, like, did we get permission from Disney, and can we make it, and all these kind of things. And it's a sketchy thing. So
yeah, how do you approach that? Because like that's obviously a question that people will ask, because like, you know, you kind of want to. I mean, fan art is a big thing, right? Yeah. I mean, wherever you look, most of the artists have at least tried to do a fan art every now and then.
Have done it, yeah.
Yeah. Most of the artists, I would say, have done it at some point in their lives. So, but then making short film or making like a homage, you know, that's just like another level of fan art, I think.
Yeah,
it's
very similar.
Yeah, it's just like moving illustrations, basically. You know, every frame of the 24 frames of every second of the film is basically a painting. With audio, and you know, it's just like a constant moving thing. But so what inspired you to do it? Like, I know you're a big fan of the original trilogy, or actually the first two movies that came out.
Yeah.
Was there any like particular reason outside of just like I want to do my own version?
Yeah, I went out to Mojave with my buddy Graham and my friend Toros. Shout out to my homies. We went out and we were doing just a fun trip. I hadn't been out there, and I really wanted to. Got really into photography, still am, and I wanted to go and take photos out there and just have a camping trip. And then I was just sitting there, and it's otherworldly when you're in Mojave, because nobody's there most of the time, and it's completely state-owned, so you're not allowed to drive through it and stuff, and it's just epic. It's huge, it's massive, and it's protected, and it's awesome. So when you're there, you feel like you're a character in Star Wars on another planet. And so in my head, I was like, should definitely conceive of an idea to do out here, because it could be really cool. And so I started thinking of an idea and had some rough kind of concepts. And then I spoke to my buddy Olaf Lamaris about it, because I know he's a big Star Wars fan. And I was like, hey, we doing potentially talking about maybe doing something. A lot of people, friends of mine, we all want to collaborate with one another. So it's kind of like we're all just kind of sharing different common interests and wanting to talk about, we should do this and that. So the time had kind of come for us to align on something. He was really into it. And then so that's kind of how it started. I think the main impetus of it was, originally it was supposed to be just kind of a CGI and footage kind of thing. And it was mostly to exercise let's do with everything I tried to do is one step closer to the bigger goal. Right. And that was one step closer, which is but that was for the VisFX side. And then Anthony Scott Burns, who's a bit of a mentor of mine, he was like, don't be a coward, go get actors and make a story. And so he kept pushing me and Olaf, and then we started to write the story. And then a year later,
such a nice guy. He'll tell you, don't be a coward. When I ask you something, you say, don't be a bitch.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah. It's just the different words.
Yeah. Are you sensitive? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm obviously a fan. I grew up with it. It's got a high influence on me, but I also wanted to kind of do my own personal take on it, and kind of evolve some of the feelings that I had. As a kid, I was a Star Wars fan, and as an adult, I'm a fan of film. And so it's merging those two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been really crazy. And no, we haven't asked any permission from Disney. I'm hoping that it fits in the clause of like fan film stuff because we're not making any profit off of it. And most likely we're going to remove the Star Wars logo from any branding of it. So it is actually, the Reign of Solace could actually be its own thing. There's
Right.
only a couple similarities from the original franchise that they think they can come after us with. But when I Google like fan films and stuff, it's like blatant madness out there. Like it's legit like a free for all shit show. So I want to be respectful to the right holders and all that stuff. And with every project we do, every passion project, the Ghost in the Shell one or the Akira one, like we've never made any money off of any of those things.
Yeah.
So directly.
I mean, technically you aren't supposed to, obviously.
Well, it's illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal. You see those posters that people try to sell all the time. That's like one of the reasons, people are asking us, hey, the Blade Runner poster is like, when are you guys going to start selling it? Or are you selling it ever? Or what's happening? And the reality is we've done it for Ridley Scott and Alkin. And unless they decide at some point that they would want to release it and make a profit out of that, which I don't think it aligns with what they do at all, we just cannot do it. It's just illegal. It's not our property. We got paid to do that work. So
it belongs to them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. And it's theirs to kind of sit on or do whatever they want with, unfortunately. But that's just kind of how it goes. So
yeah.
We should do another projects at some point. The real tricky thing is we could do our own IP, but nobody knows it really except like our diehard fans. So bless you guys. You guys are fucking awesome. But anybody else outside of that, like to really connect with people, which I agree is like, let's go do like a Cowboy Bebop thing or something that actually has an appeal or a Batman thing. But you can't just do that. You have to go through the hoops of the legality of it. And it's a whole legal process. The moment that you turn the art into money is an exchange and there's a business a transaction that occurs. And so you have to be professional about it and respectful and courteous to the right holders because there's a reason why, and it's out of respect and you got to respect that. So
there is a reason why it's illegal because they've built the brand and now you're profiting of it by not coming up with your own ideas,
Yeah. But it's all good though. It's all
tricky.
Good, man.
A lot of people always ask that, what do you do? Like, is it even okay to do fan art? Obviously it's okay. I don't think there was any litigation that I've heard about that a big company would go after an artist for doing a fan art as long as they're not, monetizing on it.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a little sketchy because I don't know how it's being dealt with when you're, let's say, making YouTube videos or content that is behind the paywall, meaning like you're producing something and all of a sudden there's ads associated to it, which makes the video being monetized in a way.
Yeah.
Or just simply monetizing video. I don't know how. I mean, technically it shouldn't be legal, but I don't know. I see it more often, especially nowadays with like how YouTube is growing and how everything is kind of going towards streaming and online, that the companies like Disney and Lucasfilms and Lucasfilm belongs to Disney, but Disney kind of owns everything right now, so it's hard. Or Warner Brothers or any of like some of those companies start to reach out to creators and offer like collaborations after they see, like you did this awesome thing that became just wildly popular, and now we want to kind of do a project with you,
Mm-hmm.
Which is encouraging because it kind of shows that there's one of those, I can't remember who was talking about this, but like sometimes you work for a company, and especially if you don't have it in a contract, or if you're like, I'm pretty sure you had that situation when you were younger and had less notoriety, where you would work for someone and You would finish a project and you would want to release it, and they would say no. You know?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
And it's just like, and it's usually just like this, some old farts sitting in marketing, or like someone who's just like so smug that, you know, they want to justify what they do.
Yeah, it's their right though, 'cause they own it.
True, that's true.
And you got paid for it. So.
Yeah. I know.
I know
that's the contract.
Devil's advocate stuff.
No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. Unless you have it in a contract that, I mean, technically you should not supposed to, you know, be bitching about it.
Yeah, I purposely I don't sign contracts that make me not allow me to share work later.
Yeah,
because it's
or you can sign a contract that, okay, I'm not going to share any of that work. It's going to be up to your discretion, but you have to pay me more.
Give me that double cheddar, baby.
Yeah, you have to pay me more, because we know artists, me and you, that worked in like canceled projects back to back, and they have nothing to show for like years and years. Yeah. And if you don't do like your own projects, it's very difficult to show anything you have, and yeah, you can get dodgy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it still happens where companies are like, I'm not gonna, you cannot share any of it because we have marketing purposes. And then 2 years go by, everyone forgot about a project, and there was no marketing purpose to the project whatsoever. And you ask yourself a question like, really? Like, I could have shared it, and you would gain like extra few fans that are the fans of my work, you know?
Yeah.
They would go to see the movie or buy the game just because they like the work of the artist that work on it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I think is ego based.
Very ego based.
But it is changing. I think the more of like the current generation of artists and marketers and, you know, creative people that are going into those departments and work with those companies that are more savvy in terms of how things really work.
Yeah.
It just becomes a little easier.
Yeah, it stops too. Also, for this kind of thing, it stops with all of us just kind of going, "Hey, let's all agree not to sign contracts that don't allow artists' rights to show the work again." And for some companies, it makes sense. The whole thing is you should respect the due date, obviously, of the release thing. It's damaging to the property if you release something and then the competitor takes that idea and then releases it prior to them. It's damaging to them because it's intellectual property and they own that. Every minute of your day that they pay for that, they own you and your ideas and whatever you make, if that's in the contract. But the thing that you should try to figure out, for me at least, is, well, once this is done, I should have the ability to share it because it's important, you know? So there's a lot of things in this industry that really bother me that make me want to like stop working in it. But I'm so deep in it. It's like, what am I going to do? I was listening to John Ward's podcast today with Joe, and I was like, oh man, like, could totally see doing something with cars, but I was like, man, car industry is probably just as bad, if not worse, you know?
Yeah.
You know, every industry has these pitfalls, especially if you aspire to do something great and do big things. Every time you try to move things, you're going to hit resistance and you're going to have to deal with like, is this worth it? You know, and all that kind of stuff, you know? So tricky stuff.
Yeah, it gets tricky. But I agree. There's certain things that are like, really, that doesn't work that way. But it's changing. Like that's the positive that I've noticed, that there's less and less resistance. And you know, I think that the tip of it is right now with creators, that like people who are creating, just like we talked about fan art. Like how many movies are being in talks to make because someone made like hugely successful fan art. You know?
Yeah.
It just shows like it's like almost like a free metrics for those companies. Like, oh, there's a certain buzz about this product, you know?
Yeah.
That we never thought that it's going to be interesting for people. And there's a bunch of artists doing fan art of it, and they're getting like huge numbers of views. There might be something in it. So there's recognition there for sure. I mean, we see it all the time. Like pretty much most of the movies are now remakes or reboots, or like literally just taking existing properties and making them into something different, or in a different style at least. So that's happening, and I think it's going to extend itself to the fact where, you know, more and more artists become, I think we're encroaching the world, especially now with like this whole, quarantine and shelter in place, all those things, wild things going on in the world. The big companies that would always insist like you have to be in the office, this is the most important thing, like you have to be there. Now they have no choice.
Yeah.
And haha. And
no, I will not come to LA to do coffee parties with you. No. Government says no.
And I think, well, now the big companies are facing the reality of like we have to do it whether we like it or not. But I think this is the moment in time where it's almost like shifting gears, and I think remote work will actually start picking up from this moment on.
I hope so.
Yeah, there's this book. It was you recommended it actually.
Remote?
Yeah, Remote. It was from like 2015. It was like
Old book.
It wasn't. Yeah, it's a pretty old book, and a lot of things that the book talks about we already kind of do, me and you.
Yeah.
But I was commuting. I was actually reading this book and commuting, and it kind of like gave me PTSD from the times where I was actually commuting all the time. I was like, oh my God, I'm wasting so much time in the traffic. Oh my God, I get interrupted all the time. Like all those things where I was just like, I sit at home, wake up at the time. I'm fresh. I don't have to wake up before traffic because otherwise I'm gonna be stuck in traffic and completely pissed off.
Sure. Yeah. Counterintuitive.
Yeah.
It's not good for the artistic brain to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, the tools we have now really allow to make the remote work really well, and sometimes more productive than the studio work. I can still see there's certain like roadblocks here and there.
Yeah, of course.
Like, especially if you're in a like fast-paced environment, it can get really difficult because like it's a one thing to be available all the time just to get like quick feedback. That brings distractions. But if you have a really well organized office where you can focus on work, and then you get distracted when you want to be distracted, meaning like you would ask for help or ask for feedback, and you get it almost immediately or much faster than if you would send feedback to, and wait for an email back or something like that. But you can get yourself in a situation where it's not gonna like, even though you're working remotely, you might get yourself in a situation where you're going to be exposed to constant disruptions as well. Like, let's say you work for film or a video game and you express to client, hey, I'm going to have Skype open, ping me anytime, right?
Yeah.
If you have notifications on and if they're overzealous, you'll be distracted all the time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very difficult to focus. But I think
do you fire yourself from jobs?
I don't know. I did once, I think, or twice. I definitely did that. There were projects where I was just like, I would do something and I wouldn't be sure if like it's working. I wouldn't get feedback or I was just like fucking out of it, almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's I used to say all the time, like on every project you should put your best, and obviously that's always true.
Yeah.
But there's just sometimes clients you're going to work with that is just not gelling, no matter how much you try, because it might be the situation where you're like, or it could be different situations. One, it could be just you're not gelling with the person and whatever you send is just not hitting the mark.
Yeah. And
then you just part ways because like you're at this point you're just wasting your time and their time. Mm-hmm. and they're wasting their time. Yeah, and their money too. So mm-hmm. like, okay, I'm doing my best. This is the ideas that I have. They're clearly not hitting the mark. They're not what you're asking for. And no matter how much you're expressing it, it's just very difficult for me to get idea what do you really want, or maybe just my style is not fitting, and the assumption was it's gonna,
Mm-hmm.
So that happens every now and then.
It happens to pros too, so it's good to hear.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, it happened to you. It happened to me. It happened to a lot of people that I know that seem to be like very perfect on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very, yeah. I think it's very important to say that. But sometimes you're just like, is it even worth, because you might be working with the client, you're thinking that's the thing that you want to do, and all obviously depends on, hey, like if I really need money, like then you better fucking try.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you're taking a project not for monetary reasons, but for the fact that this is a property that you really would want to work on, or maybe you have expectations towards client that, hey, like maybe this is sort of like a connection I would want to make. And then you just face the different reality where that art director, production designer, whoever, is just like the way they operate is just unacceptable to your workflow.
A lot of people like that in this industry.
Yeah. Then that's where like you, no matter how much you're gonna try and like force yourself to be excited or push yourself to be as professional as possible, you're gonna hit the point where it's just like, I just cannot do it anymore. Yeah that happens sometimes. There are certain names that, in film industry,
same names, dude. Name names.
Yeah, the same names. Yeah. Name dropping.
Yeah, I worked with a couple nightmare people, but a lot of it just comes down to, it's not even therefore my fault. It's just a mixed communication, or it's a mismatch.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a very when I engage with the client, I make sure that they know immediately that I don't work normally like normal people. I don't just like shit out a ton of concepts every day. Like I actually think about it. I don't go on Pinterest immediately. I don't go on ArtStation immediately. I think about it. I listen to what they say, and then I try to problem solve it. I learned a lot of this from this designer, Saul Bass. Saul Bass would say, like, I'm going to give you one solution, and then you're going to take it. And there's a lot of confidence with that. I think a lot of people look at that and go like, well, that's cocky and that's egotistical, and a process to elimination. And there's a way to exercise these things to find the right things. And for certain things, I do agree. But for when you are trying to design a solution to a problem, how often is it that there's multiple solutions to that one direct problem? It's kind of rare. So having the confidence to kind of navigate that is really the key, So I know I'm divulging, but I think the later on, the further in your career you get, the more that you've seen the cycle. And you go, oh, okay, like you work like this, and I do like this, and I've used so much of the skills that I've acquired over the time of working with others in my own directing and directing others. Like, I feel like, in my opinion, I don't know if it's true, you can maybe ask my team, but I feel like I do my best to engage and extract the best out of them for the project, So it's definitely an art. So it takes a lot of work, but yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's like you said, sometimes it's just mismatch because, we kind of, we've been talking about it offline, where when you think about quality of work and what's becoming popular and what isn't, you look at the movies that are out there, or games, it's very rare that like a real masterpiece, meaning like a film that has amazing cinematography, story, and all of the things click, and it also hits that popularity thing, where it just becomes popular because people are jiving with it. It's very rare. It's almost like a gem that just happens every now and then. There's a lot of great films that are made that just never get popular, and like most of the films we know, like the original Blade Runner was a flop, like a giant one.
Classics,
and it's considered to be one of the best science fiction movies ever made.
I could see why people don't get it though, and I could see why people would be confused and or like annoyed by it. I could see that too.
Yeah. There's certain movies that just come out and you're questioning yourself, like, how is it even possible that this is becoming a hugely successful thing? A lot of times has to do with the property that it is, like if it's something that people are very familiar with.
Marvel, sorry, go ahead.
That people are very familiar with. It's kind of funny, like we're talking and we're both working with Marvel.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but it's like it's free crunch, baby.
It's free crunch.
Yeah, no, but it's not like it's everybody knows that. It's derivative, and it's coming from a source. So it's not like it's not like it's insulting. It's not like they're trying to make, grapes of wrath or Chinatown or something. It's
right?
like,
Yeah, it's what Scorsese said. It's an entertainment.
Yeah.
A lot of times, it's a very good piece of entertainment versus it's not really like. Yeah, there is a massive difference between Kubrick and Michael Bay.
Yeah.
It's pretty apparent. But yeah, I was giving you this analogy of how general public basically works as a compressor, like audio compressor. What highly creative people try to convince or try to convey is like absolute madness when it comes to like how much detail you want to add or how meticulously you're going to change the lighting or all of those things. Like the podcast we were talking about with Jonathan Ward and his obsession about cars and things he does and like how he's choosing parts to make sure that whatever he does is going to be absolute perfection.
Yeah, universal obsessions. Yeah,
right. It's very rare. Like I don't think I know that many people that have that kind of mentality. Outside of you, there's maybe like a bunch of other artists that are thinking that way, but it's very difficult to come by. But yeah, like the general audience basically works as a compressor. So they whatever we do on the highest level or whatever like the best artists in the world or the best musicians in the world would do on the absolutely highest level, it's almost like compressed down 12 decibels.
Yeah.
And everything in between is basically, it's so close to together that yeah, it's kind of the same. I mean, how many times you would ask someone who has no idea about artistic process whatsoever or what's the good lighting, like there's no education in that field, and they would say, oh, this painting looks amazing, and it's just something like, really? What? And same goes to music, but you start to recognize it in sports. You start to like even in yourself, right? Like when I watch UFC, for instance, right? I do understand what kind of techniques are being used. I'm familiar with what's wrestling and how it works. I've done jiu-jitsu. I understand jiu-jitsu. I understand what Muay Thai is, or clinching, all of those things. And you look at it, I'm still dumbfounded. Like what? Like I don't know I don't know how to score it. I have no idea. I have a very rough idea. But then you look at the very, like once you start breaking down how those athletes are preparing for fight is just mind-blowing. Like holy shit, they're training so many different things all at once.
Yeah, because society is allowing specialization.
Yeah,
we're lucky, and it's cool because right now we're in this weird world crisis where the world's stopping, and so we're gonna start. It's crazy to see how fragile this whole system is. I think a lot of times we were like, oh, like we're the highest level elite, everything is amazing, and then look, like people are like eating toilet paper at the store and stuff. It's like,
dude, I actually managed to buy 2 rolls.
You bought toilet paper? Wow.
Yeah, I found some.
Sheesh.
It's amazing. That's one of the obsessions I don't get. Like, what? Why would you need? I mean, I understand you need toilet paper, but it's not like they're gonna run out. It's this thing where people get scared and then they run to the stores, like thinking like the world is basically collapsing and everything is closing. No one's doing any production.
To some people, it is in their mind,
Right.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, they will go to the bar and hang out with friends. It's like.
Well, it's hard to say, right? Because everybody's doing different things. So but no, I meant about that is that there's specializations that occur in our society, and we allow them so people are able. Like when I was younger, UFC was on VHS. You could only get it at Blockbuster, and like these people were just bare knuckle fighters, and they were really raw. And watching it now, it's not. I think it's amazing what these guys do, but it's almost not even entertaining to me as much as it used to be because of the.
It's not as raw.
I mean, it's raw, but it's like it's just missing that like
groin shots,
groin shots, just headbutting, and like that's fighting. What's weird now is it's a perversion of fighting. It's still fighting.
It's a sport basically at this point.
Yeah, which is I'm not like I said. I mean, I trained with some of these people, I used to. So like I know them, and I'm not saying anything against them, and they can all whip my ass 2 times over. I'm just saying that it's. yeah, it's that society is allowed for these weird oddities to occur, So and a lot of times when I forget there was a quote about people that critique, or like you can tell we're in a really high, like we're very privileged society when people are like getting upset about video games. It's like
yeah.
You're okay, hold on now. You're getting upset about a
video games.
false reality of
stupid
something.
shit.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really good for us to kind of go, okay, hold on. Like, oh, there's a lot of noise out there, and let me just ask myself what matters most. And then anytime you're getting mad about something, you should ask yourself, like, well, what can I point to yourself, and what can I do about fixing this? So
yeah.
And then finding the solution for whatever it is that's bothering you. So which is tricky.
People get upset that there's not enough foam in their coffee, like
going
aggro.
I don't blame them if they want foam, but at the same time, it's annoying, So, yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, I'm not the type of person that would get mad at that. And anytime I'm in a public place and somebody acts like that, I usually stop and go like, hey, like calm down, it's just fucking coffee, And I like look at him like, shut the fuck up, One of these days I'm gonna get in a really awesome altercation. It's gonna be great. But
over coffee.
Sometimes I know it's wrong, but sometimes I feel like some people just need to be put in their place, and they're just being really rude.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, stop that. I don't get why people are like that, but anyways, yeah.
No one gets upset about the foam in the coffee these days. They're happy that the fucking Starbucks is still open.
Yeah.
If you can get it in your country, that's the thing. Because a lot of people just cannot get it anymore. Everything's closed. Only grocery stores. Yeah. It puts everything in perspective for sure.
I think
makes you realize things. It's a good wake up call because it's not. Yeah, it's just like at any point of time, if like a pandemic like bird flu or something, or like measles, or any of those like really deadly diseases become as contagious as flu, then we're all fucked,
Yeah.
So I really hope that this is gonna, from the way the things are developing, it looks like, I'm reading news. I don't know if I can trust news from China at this point. But they say they have no new cases. It's like, huh, okay. But like South Korea is slowly, it seems like from what I read, they're slowly like getting back to normal. Like they're thinking about opening, I think it's going to be no audience basketball games, but still having games happening again. So it feels like there's like they're through the major hump, or like they flattened the curve, as everyone's saying, enough to start thinking about normality, but not normality of what it was before, but normality of like, let's just not, be in this crazy position we're in. So eventually every country is going to get there, obviously.
Just the stress on the medical system. That's really the concern.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And most of this panic is just making it worse. Really, it really does. And I'm not talking about officials saying like, hey, this is what we all need to do. I'm saying people fucking rushing stores and buying shit out.
You're never gonna stop that.
Yeah. Well, the stores seem to be curbing that stuff. Like they are doing like
policing
hours. Yeah, like you can only buy 2 rolls or 2 bags or something, and between like this time and that time, no one's allowed in, but like elderly and seniors. Yeah.
It's good.
That's really good thing.
My father-in-law, he does that. It's great. That stuff makes me really happy. I heard a really great story. I'm gonna share this because it made me really, really fucking happy. I love this stuff. It makes. There's also like nature's taking over back again, which is great. Like people are seeing like dolphins and stuff. Like you can see fish in the canals and like Venice and stuff, like stuff you couldn't because it's tourists everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
But there's a story. There's a 90-year-old woman in my neighborhood, not my neighborhood, but kind of close by, called the cops, and she was like, I think there's somebody outside, and they're like, oh, we'll come over and check it out. And then they came over, and they went and talked with her, and they're like, is there anybody here? And she's like, no. And like, we didn't see anybody. And she's like, are you by yourself? She's like, yeah. And then she's like, I was supposed to get my retirement money so I could get groceries. And then So the firefighters, they all teamed up. They all went to the grocery store. The fucking, I love these guys.
Firefighters, yeah, real heroes.
Well, I don't know all of them, but these particular people are fucking awesome. And so they, on their own dime, on their own time, they went to the grocery store. They bought her a slew of just a bunch of stuff. When they're at the grocery store, the manager came up. It's like, what are you guys doing? What are you buying all this stuff for? They tell their grocery store guy. The grocery store guy, the guy that runs Albertsons, he says, no, you guys aren't paying for any of this stuff. Albertsons will pay for this. Fuck, how cool is that, dude?
It's really cool.
It's fucking amazing.
It's really encouraging.
So cool, dude. So I think that there's a lot of shitty people, but there may be 5%. I think that when I've been out, people were, for the most part, kind of, I could see it in their eyes, are like, oh, fuck. But for the most part, they're just like,
bold old guy.
I mean, just, like just people are kind of, they're just, they're kind of panicking in their head.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, like, because there was a lady that was kind of going irate at the grocery store the other day when we were there. And I was at the aisle and I was sympathizing with the people that work in there. I said, I'm sorry you guys had to deal with this, and you guys are troopers for handling this. And then she was saying, oh, it's only a couple people, everybody else has been really great. So I was like, that's good to hear and encouraging. But stories like that, those are ones that stick in my heart, and I think and I believe in, and I really I hope are going to continue. And I really think that they will. There's chivalry in this country. There's chivalry worldwide. There's a lot of people that I think care about one another, and I think there's a lot of great people out there doing great things still. So, I mean, if we didn't, and if we didn't believe in that, then yeah. But we're going to see how it's going to go in the next couple of weeks, because I know San Francisco is on like a month shutdown, which is, that's crazy. Like, people of low income, shutting them out for that much time, it's tough, man.
It's going to be tough times ahead for sure. Yeah. I don't like it. It really, like, this is the time where, like, we really don't know what's going to happen. Like, the economy obviously is going to, it's already suffering. You can tell that workers that cannot go to work, they are like, oh my God, what are we going to do? I think certain countries, I know US is thinking about sending checks to Americans under a certain income level, just as a relief.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like there's going to be certain countries that are going to do that.
Well, it's going to stimulate the economy too. If you think about it methodically, it's a kind of a good strategy, because if you give this money back,
you have to,
and that re-stimulates, and then boom, So I'm not an economist in any sense, and I think everything that we say here, we're idiot artists. We have no sense of how the world works. We're just kind of guess.
We're just
1000% bro science. Yeah, exactly.
Armchair.
Yeah, armchair experts. Over here. Yeah, Dax Shepard style. But right. I think a lot of it is I think so. So I did the AMA on Instagram today, and there was a lot of questions that came through about, like, how are you dealing with the mental health, and how are you keeping positive? And I had some friends reaching out, like, how are you doing? And I mean, I've grew up in the ghetto. I've went through some really hard times. So like, none of this stuff really phases me. So I'm like, oh, what, we eat the potatoes for like 3 weeks? Okay. Like, put soy sauce on potato. Okay. Now put salt on the potato. Okay. Now put pepper on the potato. It's like, okay, there we go. Like,
gives me flashback to Polish times.
I freaking love potatoes. So yeah, for me, it doesn't really matter, and it's not a big deal. I feel more or less bad for people that are kind of dealing with the social oddities of it all, But so I think for me, if I were to give any advice, I would say it's best to just kind of stay positive. If the news is triggering your anxiety, like, legitimately stay away from it. If there's somebody that's triggering you with your anxiety, like, get them out of your life, like, avoid them if at all costs you can, like, they're just not worth it to have near you, because they're just going to cause you more havoc. And if that's a family member you can't avoid, then like, tell them, like, hey, piss off, like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Because it can get really bad really quickly, so.
I was reading news, dude. It was like, I had like a day where I was just like really freaking out a little bit, freaking out a little bit, because like I've read something. I was just like, what the fuck's going on? And then went on a binge. But then there was like this one piece of news that said that this coronavirus is more contagious than Ebola, and I was like, yeah, it is, obviously. What the fuck, right? But then you click the link, it's like, pay $10 for monthly subscriptions. Like, oh, you fucks.
Yeah, dude, people
clickbaits.
People
and I just stopped. It's like, okay,
shit out of this.
Yeah, they're just monetizing on that shit. It's just so much misinformation there too.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, just go on your local health
CDC,
public health. Yeah, it's CDC, or if let's see, if you live in Los Angeles, I think it's Los Angeles public health department or something. They give like updated information on what's going on, or go to like university websites. They have researchers working on that stuff and give more information all the time. That's where you actually get information on what's going on, because people are still parroting shit that it's like been, okay, someone came up with this, but no one really checked. There's no real, evidence to it.
Your cam went down. Do you use your cam?
No, cams. I have 2 cams for this.
Oh. You just went black. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's all good. I
just
restarted it for you. Blackface.
Okay.
You motherfucker. But what I was thinking on the side note to all of this is this is actually, for a lot of people, like a really good opportunity to start learning stuff.
Learn Squared. Yeah, Learn Squared. It's a big long Learn Squared ad.
Yeah. Yes.
No, I've been, dude, the moment I heard this, I was like, oh, time to learn.
Time to learn. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, we're fortunate enough to work in the business where this business kind of thinks about not what's now, but what's going to be a year from now.
Yeah.
So like if you work for film or video game, like they're going to obviously be disrupted by this thing. If you work on site as a non-creative position, that's a completely different thing. Obviously, it's very difficult to measure that stuff. But if you are like us, artists or musicians or whatever, working in the industry, and this is like the great time to learn new things, because you might have less work because of the whole thing that's going on, but also this is the folks that I work with in the art department, I asked them about if they're worried about, hey, like with this coronavirus, like if it goes south, not south to like destruction or whatever, but like economy,
south to Mexico, is what you mean?
Like shitty economy for a long time. Are you concerned? It's like yes and no, because like in 2008, when there was this giant economic downturn, the film industry wasn't really shaken. Like the moments where film industry, for instance, was like really bad was when there was like a writer's strike. Mm-hmm. Or like director's strike or something like that, where like literally you cannot work because we don't have scripts, and because there's a strike. That's literally we cannot work. Yeah. And I was like, okay, but like there's less money and all that. But think about if you're working in the film, that means that's going to be released 2 years from now. So they're not going to stop production now. They're going to keep going as far as they can to make sure that 2 years from now they have a product. Yeah. Because they're going to be losing money now from theaters and whatnot, but they don't want to lose money in the future. They want to keep going. So
I was thinking too, what about movies that were supposed to, like, they spent years developing, they're supposed to drop right now?
Yeah, that's bad.
I feel bad for this.
That's where but they can always postpone, right? Sure. Or drop, like, that's where maybe things like Netflix is going to be killing it.
Oh, they're loving. I think Netflix actually, conspiracy theory number 1, bang. Netflix created coronavirus so everybody could sit home. Yeah.
Netflix and Disney Plus. And Amazon Prime.
Disney,
Amazon movies or whatever.
They all conspired to make the corona.
I think this is like where it's all gonna, well, not all, but the shift towards online is definitely going to be visible from this point on. Yeah, but it's also I've been, for past few episodes, I've been having this sort of like ongoing topic of social media and online creators, where you're not necessarily working for the big man, you're working for yourself.
The little man.
you're the little man. This seems to be a time, and obviously when you have an economical downturn, it's really difficult to monetize on, entertainment. But then again, like in a situation like that where people are stranded at home, like they want to be entertained. I want to be entertained. Fucking, I started watching Disney Plus because like, hey, I want to watch stuff,
Sure. A Little Mermaid. What else?
A Little Mermaid. But it's like, this is an opportunity. Well, not an opportunity, but a good excuse to, like, if you ever wanted to, like, hey, I want to start learning something. Well, now is your chance, right? Because now you don't have an excuse to go out with friends, or because you just literally cannot, And so maybe that's like the push you might get from this, where, let me try.
Awesome time to learn, man.
It's really good. And like you mentioned Learn Squared, and we're like laughing. There's one thing we're gonna be doing, and maybe by the time this podcast comes out, we're actually gonna make each class we have first lesson basically free as soon as you sign up.
Oh, nice.
So you're just gonna watch it.
I remember we talked about doing that back when I was with it.
We figured, like, we didn't have options to do it back then, because it was just like, we have to hard code a lot of shit.
So much work. Yeah.
But we do have functional trial, or like you can watch some videos without signing up. So we're gonna do that. There is a news that came out recently that Adobe is making 2 months free on Creative Suite for learning institutions.
Nice.
So if you're in art school and whatnot, that's maybe a good opportunity to reach out to your dean or someone, say like, hey, I saw those news, you guys should really get on it, because that's like free stuff for the students. I don't know if it works for online schools. That's something we're exploring as well with Learn Squared. Everyone is slashing prices. That's probably what we're gonna do as well, just like, like we do have content, we do have workers, we do have employees. There are part-time employees, but we're paying money for people to get by, so we cannot just make everything for free. But we'll definitely slash prices to make them make money. Caring for the peeps.
Yeah, it's also good. It's a good time to learn. It really. I mean, there's always a good time to learn, but like when you have time, like if you're normal 9 to 5 and you have time right now, like people were asking me on Instagram, like, are you bored? I'm like, what do you mean bored? That's crazy. Like, this is the time when you shred. This is when I was listening to that podcast with John Ward. I loved his approach, because he was saying, like, because Joe is like, not everybody can afford to have the time to do this. He's like, not really. Like, you have nights and weekends, and it's so true. Even if you have a 9 to 5 job. I mean, even when I was working multiple jobs and doing that stuff, you do have time. You just have to make time for it. And it's when you make the time for it. But anyways, right now, in my opinion, is a great time, because if you are a 9 to 5 person, and if you're forced to stay home, and if you're not making a living, why not acquire a new skill? So I'm actually going backwards. I just went through Swang's art class. I'm still going through it. I've got a ton of Jama's classes, because I really love, like, his approach is super rad, all his gumroads. What other Learn Squared? There's another Learn Squared class I got too. And I've done a bunch of random artists. It's been so cool. I find these artists on Instagram. I send them a note, say, I love your work, thank you for doing that. And then I find that they have a gumroad. I watch it, and I learn, and I acquire it, and I put it into my skill set, and just keep filling it up, and it's really cool.
Yeah, there's a ton of gumroads out there as well. Jama has a good set of, like, really good learning material.
His Gumroad Megalord.
Megalord.
He's a Gumroad Megalord.
Yeah, Gumroad Megalord.
This is what you do. Yes. Yeah. Horrible Jama impersonation. Hey, Jama. Daddy loves you.
Horrible Jama impressions. Yeah, it's definitely a great time to learn.
Always a good time.
Because a lot of time. Yeah, always a good time. I agree with you 100%. You can always find time to do things. I mean, sometimes it can be extremely challenging if you work 9 to 5 and you have 2 kids and you have to do all the chores, and maybe you have like 2 jobs that you have to attend to. It's really difficult. But you know what? I had there was this one job I got. It was like a full circle. I was talking about this before, but I had a listener of the podcast who was janitor. I think he was a janitor. And and he was listening to a podcast, and he tuned in on that moment where I was talking when I was janitor. It was like, my life is shitty, literally.
Janitor
I have to deal with the
dude.
shit, yeah. And just learning and making art, it was something that for me, it was like, I have to do it because otherwise I just going to be stuck with this, paradigm that I'm in. So I always, I would be, I would be studying, I would be working after so studies mean like I would wake up 6 a.m. and get back home like 6 p.m. and then go straight, like just eat and go straight to work for like almost a year.
Yeah.
And then get back home like at 9, maybe 10. Yeah, it was really difficult times to get anything to get done. But I'll get home and like people be like, hey, like let's go for a beer. I was like, no, I'm fucking learning this shit, And I would learn to like 2 a.m. and get like super groggy waking up and running to school. I was like young, whatever, like 18, 17,
Yeah. What is that though? Because we both have that thing. I wonder what it is. Is it escaping poverty? What is it? Because it's a rare trait. Not everybody has. You can't learn it, and it's something you have to acquire. I know people that don't have it commonly are people that were given things to them too easily because they don't have that like push. Your camera went black again. But
yeah, don't worry about it.
I don't know what it is about that trait because all the people that I know that are significant to the industry that they work in, they have that. A, they have the curiosity. B, they have the drive to motivate to like fulfill their curiosity, and then C, they take the responsibility of like actually learning and not stopping. Because both you and I, like, it's cool. I appreciate it because right now you're doing the Showtime. I'm actually working on the master file right now. I forgot to tell you, so don't.
Oh, damn.
Are you working on it?
No.
Okay,
keep working on it.
I just saved it. I was like, shit. So I'm helping Mache very little.
No, you're chiseling that little baby. I'm proud.
But it's cool to see you because you're like, I'm gonna go make a short film, and I was like, fuck yeah, finally you're gonna do it, and I'm excited for you to go through the hell because it's legit hell.
I literally almost every other day I would send you. I think I lost your camera now. Every other day I would send you.
There it is.
Yeah, there is. Every other day I would send you like a screenshot of crashed software or like
Adobe
a bug.
Premiere. Yeah. Yeah, and it's cool.
It must be something with my computer, man. Like,
yeah, I think so.
I don't think it's Adobe like Premiere. After Effects.
After Effects can be very, very buggy.
Memes are there for a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, Premiere. I think there's something with the setup that I have. I literally I was like an inch away from like, I'm gonna get the iMac Pro just to fucking edit this film.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Was really close to that, but I'll survive it.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
You know what
making
it is?
Your own project is tough. So yeah, let's go back to the main thing.
I think it has to. I think both you and me, because we come from like real poverty, like real poverty, like fucked up poverty, not India,
not
or
that
like
bad.
Third world country poverty. I'm not talking about that kind of poverty, but like Western, really bad, lowest income you can imagine, mom or single parent working 2 jobs poverty, So really difficult. And it's, you kind of like, you realize that this is the life you're in, but you have an obsession about something. I think your drive to do what you do came from the obsession for that one thing you had, which is like doing a design and being an artist and being a designer. Like you wanted to do that. You wanted to do something that is creative. Like whether you realize that design is something you want to do from the start or not, that didn't matter. It mattered that you want to do something creative, and that was just driving you nuts if you weren't doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Could you agree on that at all?
Yeah, I get like I'm a really shitty person if I don't get to do this. Like,
right.
I get all like antsy and like shitty. I'm
right.
like not a good person to be around if I'm not able to do the things that I should be doing. So. And
a lot of people that are really driven are like that, especially if they come from like shitty place, or like shitty life or some tragedy that they have to go through. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, like I had my fair amount of time where I was just like, I really don't want to do that shit anymore. Mm-hmm. Or like I would be just like, I just done enough, I can just cruise. Sure. And I had weeks and months like that. And looking back at those, I feel like that's just a giant waste of time. But maybe at that point of time, everything else, everything else that might be going on, you just need it, right? And you go through that to a lesson degree, I would say.
You need it though. You need those breaks. Yeah, they're essential.
Everyone needs breaks. Yeah. But I feel it has to do with the obsession about doing something. I think as soon as you can, if you find something you're completely obsessed about, you cannot stop. There was this question that happens a lot of times, like what do you sacrifice? Like, how do you deal with sacrificing, your life towards this, difficult thing you're doing? It's like, you're not really sacrificing anything. You're kind of like putting yourself into a pain because you love doing that.
That's well said. Yeah. It's true. It's very true.
So as much as I would want to say like, hey, just work your ass off and work really hard and that's going to make it. It's just like, no, there's going to be a breaking point. There's always a breaking point for someone. Like, everyone has a different threshold that they can withstand. Now, the difference is you can learn to find boundaries and cross them. It's very difficult, but it's almost like comparing it to strength training, right? If you just give up because you cannot lift the weight that you set up yourself as a goal, right?
Yeah.
Then you're just going to give up and nothing's going to happen. You're not going to get stronger. But there's also reality that, hey, like, as much as I would want to lift like fucking 1,000 pounds, that's just never going to happen because I'm not built for that at all. Yeah. So, but there's a large distance from giving up at the start and then lifting or not being able to lift 1,000 pounds. There's the in between is so vast that you can always find a place in it,
Yeah. I think it's really important to just, I don't know. I don't like to give it, it's a bummer because I like to give advice, but I don't because my advice might not be right for everybody. So I'd say take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, on any of these things, I think you should just find the thing that you really love. And if you can't find it, this means that you have a misalignment with yourself.
Right.
The way that I can say that I know that when I love something is when I'm sitting there, like I could do it like a drug almost, like where the sun comes up and I don't even give a fuck. I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
That's how I know I'm in perfect alignment. But the tricky thing is that not everything that's great for you is the alignment. There's a lot of things where, I'm sitting here watching hours of tutorials. Every night before I go to bed, I sit there with my phone on my chest and I'm watching Jama paint or something like that. I'm just putting it in my psyche, constantly thinking about it because I want to be good at painting again, but I want to like get fast, I want to go from not knowing how to paint and then go to paint. I've always painted, but I want to get back to it really quickly.
Right.
For work purposes, but just in general. But so anyways, I'm obsessing about it, but it doesn't faze me really. It's not something that I'm like, oh, but then there's times where I'm like, fuck, like I can't pay attention. Sometimes I'll watch the tutorials and I'm painting and I'll fall asleep in my chair. Like, oh shit, gotta get up, gotta keep going, And
right.
So the thing is, what I'm saying is that not everything is in sync. It's when you're actually doing the thing, that's when you can tell like, oh shit, like I've been drawing for 10 hours straight and I don't care. And you're just doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
And you're just happy and you're enjoying the time of creation, So many times, I don't know about you, I'm pretty sure you do the same thing, but I've been a lot more nowadays than ever is asking myself why I do the things that I do. Like, why do I make this? Why do I share this? Why do I make this art? Why do I do this? And it was kind of cool because I was listening to that Bobby Lee podcast and he was talking about his whole like discovering himself kind of when his dad passed. And it was really eye-opening because I think we all kind of go through these stages in life. When you're a young child, the world tells you who you are and you kind of have this facsimile of who you are. And then you break these different layers. So like some people, their dependence of like life is based on like the acceptance of their parents or something,
Yeah.
When their parents pass, then their purpose is gone. So they have to reset and find themselves a very dangerous stage because they're not who they thought they were and everything is shallow because they don't have their destination. It's like the person that's set out to go climb this mountain their whole life they climb it too early, and then they're like, well, fuck, I might as well kill myself because there's nothing else. There's no more mountains, So you have to reset yourself. So every step of your life, you're changing your destiny and stuff. And so for me, I've been constantly like, well, why do I do that? Why do I share that? Why do I make this? And sometimes I don't have the answers, and sometimes life isn't, you're not supposed to have all the answers to your life, but you should at least ask yourself, like, so like when I post something, I go like, why am I sharing this? And I go, well, I think this is a cool photograph. I think this is cool. I like this drawing. I like this car. And I try to make sure that I only share things that I feel like are worthy of me feeling comfortable sharing,
Yeah.
Rather than because it's easy to go like, oh, I'm going to do this for like likes and followers. I don't know if I've ever done that. I think now that you and I are tied for numbers, I think it's more of a joke. So we're like, now it's like a funny joke.
Yeah.
So it's going to be competitive now because it's funny because you're whipping my ass for like a year or so. But it's more of a joke because it's none of it really matters either. So
yeah, it doesn't matter. The likes doesn't matter either. So, I don't think they do. Yeah. No, to your point, there's moments where you're trying to do something and discover. I think like getting a recognition between discovering if something is right for you, versus discovering is if the pain you're kind of going through is a part of that discovery, or is it a part of the labor that you need to put into something that the fruits of it going to be really good for you,
Yeah.
Because
how do you tell? How can you tell?
I think you have to look at the end goal and be a realist. Like, fine if you can be realistic about it, Yeah. I think it's just like it's such a multi-layered question to answer because it has to deal with your work ethic. It has to deal with your personality, your ego, the way you learn, how fast you learn. Do you like learning new things? Do you learn things that are going to be essential for the project, but not necessarily things that are going to be fun for you? And can you deal with the fact that it's not going to be fun, but you're going to have a lot of fun finishing the project that you really wanted to do? Things like that. And
that's why we always talk about designing processes of learning based on projects.
Right. Yeah.
Project-based learning is usually the best because it's applicable.
Yeah.
But that's difficult if you're starting out. But even for me, for example, like with painting, I was talking with Anthony Scott Burns, and we were talking, and he was telling me his couple of really awesome short stories. And I was like, hey, how about I do a painting and then you make a short story around it, and then we just do that. It's fun. And it was cool. I started sketching out an idea. I got slammed with client work, and I'm still working on Star Wars, so I had to put it on pause. One of my many projects I have constantly going. But it was cool. I was kind of trying to find a base, And I was talking with Francois today. Francois has been killing it with painting. Friendly Robot, everybody probably knows him. But he was sending me a really beautiful painting today, and he's always asking me for my thoughts on things. And I was like, well, as a painting, it's really beautiful. I don't know what to say, but as a process, it's like, well, what are you trying to say now? You're getting closer to mastering your skill. Now it's like, now what are you saying? Because so much of the time, I think most of us, myself included, we're trying to find, okay, what brush did you use? What button did you hit? Because there is a formula to a lot of these things.
Yeah.
I was watching John Park's tutorial as he was breaking down Simon Stalenhag's work. And it was interesting because I was sitting there watching him break down Simon's work, and I was thinking, well, who did Simon break down? And then I was thinking, I started, in my brain, I'm always doing like lowest common denominator, like, okay, where does this go? Like, where does this all end? And I started thinking like, this is kind of weird. Like John's breaking down his, and then I'm like watching him break down his thing. And I'm like, well, somebody here had to be original with it. And then I was talking with Francois about Simon's work, and I really appreciate Simon's work. But the epiphany I had today was that with Simon's work, what makes it so special is that they're just little short stories, and he just throws you right in the middle of them. I don't know if they're short stories, but I don't know what they are. I'm just saying as an observer.
It's like a really vignette, almost, like a moment in time.
Yeah, and he's owned that space like really well. Like if I were to do an environment painting with any kind of sci-fi, like real world with that, like people would go, oh, you're just ripping off Simon. I'm like, oh shit, like he owns that space now, and that's awesome. Like he's claimed it, put his flag in the sand for that thing, and it's cool. But I forget what I was getting at when I was watching John, but what I think I was getting at is it's awesome to study these things, but most importantly, it's actually even more important to sit there and fail and learn all these things yourself and like discover your style, you know, because most likely you're going to do it. Nobody's going to like it, but
for a
you
long
might
time.
have a couple people for a long time. Yeah. Because even with you and both of us too, like even let's say the Showtime stuff that you've been doing, like if you look at your original sketch and then to the anime, you're basically making an anime. It's crazy. You're showing some of this stuff, right? So people know.
Yeah, a little bit, like
a little bit, treats,
bits and pieces, just to give an
Pretty
idea
gnarly.
what it is. But
It's pretty crazy, guys.
none of the most recent, most polished, you know,
Most polished.
most polished.
Yeah, it's pretty quite something, and it's cool because like you're kind of going all the way into this deep end of merging your love of 3D and CGI and all these things. So what I'm getting at is you're kind of melding a style,
Yeah,
and you're using the past and the present, and you're finding your weaknesses because both of us I think can draw, but we are very shitty at certain parts of drawing. And we never sat to learn those things. Like we don't know anatomy super well, I don't think, right?
yeah. I wouldn't say so.
No, but the cool thing is that we don't necessarily have to because we're in a state of art where you can use things to fake it, basically, and nobody would know or care. I was watching Craig Mullins. He had a class that I was watching too. I'm watching all the classes, basically. People ask me, like, how do you learn something?
Stuff.
I literally go, who's the best at this thing? And I will learn it from them. I just take all the information.
Yeah.
There's no fucking reason to be bored right now. There's no reason to be bored ever because you simply could be learning everything about anything, especially like actual things. The thing is, I don't try to learn things from people that are idiots. And the way I say that is like you could tell somebody's an idiot if you look at their art. That's what's cool about art is you can go, oh shit, like you know what you're talking about, and then you go, oh shit, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about because your art's shit. You know, like
yeah.
But that's what I love about art because it's so honest and so real without even trying to, because people can see really quickly. But what Greg was saying is Greg was critiquing these thumbnail sketches that the costume designer for Star Wars did. It was really quite a brilliant thing that he brought up is that at the time, there was no such thing as like a legit costume artist necessarily, like a concept artist for costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to think like back in late 70s or early 80s, like these jobs that we fulfill most of the time didn't even exist. There was no
concept art didn't exist then at all. Illustrators were
illustrators. Yeah.
Very rare.
And Ralph McQuarrie was one of these like anomalies that could kind of bend time and space and like pull from the ether and also like extract things from the past and the present.
Yeah.
But anyways, he was critiquing this, saying like, look at these drawings. Like I love these drawings, and I agree when he was saying I love them too because they're, as a drawing, they're like really awesome because they're original, authentic. But if you were to take those drawings and submit them now to like a Marvel client, I imagine you'd get fired or you'd be like, what the hell? So it just shows the change in advancement that's happened and the demand too. Because you have guys in the marketplace like yourself and Vitaly and stuff like that who are killing it, and you guys are dedicating yourself to your craft. And not when we see a piece from you, it's not that you just made it in a day, it's that you made it through your whole life of exchange.
Right.
Because everybody, I don't know if you know our story, I knew of Mache because I had, when I was commuting to Prologue, I had bought these books. Every time on the train, I would sit there and read these books. Like, wow, cool, these art books. And it was a Concept Art Masters or something like that.
Digital Art Masters.
Yeah, and there was this painting that you had done on the cover, and I was like, wow, this is cool. I don't know how to say his name. This is so cool. And I still have the book too. But it's cool, like all the way from then and then till now, you know, like, and I'm proud of you because you're going and you're not only just staying stagnant and doing the paintings that you have been doing in your mastery. Because it's funny now because I'm asking you for critiques on some of my paintings. You're like, yeah, because you've done it for so long. You're like, just get away from me. I don't do that stuff much anymore. I'm doing this other thing. It's so funny. I like crap that, but it's a small world how that works. But
and then I have.
And then you're like, help me with this, and I'm like, yeah, I know, yeah.
Well, to be fair, every now and then I give you a good critique, and likewise, it's just exactly like you did with Showtime. You know, I've sent you my edit. It was like, hey, check this out. It's like,
Yeah, that's proper critique though.
Like,
it wasn't
oh,
actually
fuck.
critique. It was like working and finding
No, it was
solutions
great.
and stuff.
It was
So,
great. You would know it was. I wouldn't. You would know if I didn't like it. If I wouldn't implement any of it. You know.
yeah. That's what I knew. And once you started doing it, I was like, okay, cool. Like it actually worked. So, what was I getting? I was on a tangent there. Shit.
Yeah, we kind of rolled.
Talking about like how art is ever evolving, it's ever growing. So as you are growing through it, so we're all competing against one another in a great way.
Let me go back to an anchor point that I think I found. You were talking about, you know, like obsessions, you know, like, hey, what brush should I use, or what this and what that, and like how between me and you, like, or just anyone we know, how they approach learning, because we were talking about it's a great time to learn, you know, in general, and you know, and I think that the ongoing mind was that, you know, the best way to learn is project based.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, you know, the fact that you're gonna learn tools that you're not necessarily a big fan of, but you kind of need them to make the job done. And that's, you know, when you do a project and you brushed on the surface of that. What brush
did I use though?
Yeah, what brush did you use though? When you do a project and you want to do it on the level that, you know, it's going to be exciting for you because that's that's one of the reasons you're doing it, because you're excited about it. You kind of want to you don't want to make compromises. You want to make compromises in certain places, but you want to not make compromises and use your best abilities and best tools you can get to make sure that you're going to get the best quality out of it, right? So, but you also have to find like, okay, this is it a right threshold? Am I going too far? Am I like cornering myself into like much larger project than this just to solve a small problem in that project? So for instance, you mentioned anatomy, right? I understand anatomy well enough to know which muscles are more or less where.
Will you say that?
Anatomy, that's the way you say it. Anatomy. There you go.
Anatomy. Dude, I like anatomy better.
Anatomy better. You learn anatomy, and like if you don't know anything about it, like if you know a little bit, but if you want to draw it, like that's a giant project to take on, you know. And so like if I want to draw a character that is properly anatomically atomically drawn and do it from like drawing perspective, and I need to learn anatomy, that's a giant project by itself. That's like, okay, I have to abandon this to Corona. I have to abandon this to do that. Dude, are you sweating? Are you having fever?
Lung, dude. The black lung pop. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I drink water and it went in the wrong pipe.
Yeah, we get it.
Attention more. Sorry. Go ahead.
But so you realize, okay, that's too much, you know? So is there any other tool that I can use that will solve that problem? Maybe not on the best possible level, but on an acceptable level, so I can get the major idea, you know, that the major idea comes across. So that's how I learn tools. So for instance, I was talking about learning Houdini and learning, you know, After Effects, and I've learned so many software just this project. Holy fuck. Houdini, After Effects, Premiere,
DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah, and the list goes on and on.
It does. It never ends.
And it was always this moment where it's like, okay, I want to do this, but I don't know, I could do it by hand, but it's just going to be a nightmare. Mm-hmm. But there's a software that does it better. And so I would just binge tutorials for specifically that one thing that I wanted to do. And that would just almost like a seed that starts to sprout, and you get like, okay, all right, I do this. There's another sort of like a branch that comes out of it that I need to learn in order to make it even better. But there's other branches that I don't have to really look at, because they are not necessarily what I need specifically for that project. So, and then you learn those things, and you make the project happen. It just makes it easier to digest. I agree with you. Like, imagine if you were like, okay, you want to learn anatomy, and then all you're allowed to do is figure drawing of someone, right? You would just like, fuck, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think also it's not necessary for us in our work
Right.
it doesn't hurt, but
it'll get you there, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be nightmare for you. It's like, fuck, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, it's also, I think it's as much as I love that, it's a skill and it's a talent, and it's a totally amazing thing when I see artists that are really exceptional at knowing how the body works as a mechanism. It's knowledge. Knowledge is never bad. It's good to have more knowledge. So when I see it, I don't look at it like, oh, it's unusable and it doesn't matter. I don't look at it like that. I think it's amazing, but it's all about the quest. You know, what is your quest? And that's why I was saying back to earlier, it's like, ask yourself constantly, why am I doing this? Sometimes I'll hit a road like you are hitting, and I'll go, I don't want to do this. And I'll just ask a friend who's better than I am, and I'll say, hey, you want to help on this? And they go, yeah. And I say, here you go. And I can go back to focusing on what I work on best. And that's actually what a director does. From what I learned, is that basically directors kind of managing expectations and the energy of things, you know, so. But you're going full solo mode, and I was like, hey, dude, I think you need some objectivity. It's going to help you, you know, like, because you can actually be a detriment to your projects if you go too insular with them, you know. So
it's a little bit of an insane project. I'll be honest with you.
It's insane. I can't believe that you managed to get this far with it. It's pretty crazy. It's a legit accomplishment, like visually. Like, I'm excited for your fans to see it, because it is like really impressive what you've managed to, like,
thank you,
create. It's awesome. Like, it gets me excited, and like every time I see it, I'm just like, well, I'm so close to you, and I'm like, whoa, let's tweak that or try to do that. So I can only imagine, though, like, for people that are big fans of what you're doing, like, it's legitimately gonna shake people up, because they're gonna go like, this is crazy. Like, you made this basically by yourself. This is nuts. Like, it's so cool. And it's also like, it'll be a nice flag for you to put in the sand. And the moment you're done with it, you're going to go, okay, what's next?
Exactly. What's next?
Mark my words.
I get a question like, hey, what are you going to do with this? You know, what are you going to do with this project? Are you going to sell it or pitch it? Like, I don't think that's for me.
Yeah.
You know, I think what's going to happen is going to be exactly what you did. It's like, oh, what's the next thing? Because I already have like ideas for what's the next thing, you know?
Yeah. What is the next thing? I'm just joking.
I don't know. I mean, I do know. Yeah.
You have to.
I need to finish this shit first. I already hate it.
I told you to. It's been cool, because like, I mean, for a long time you've been giving me shit, and then you've been coaching me. So it's nice to return it to you. I'm like, shut up, you noob. Like, watch this. And they, you know, so it's nice to sit in the captain's seat every once in a while and like fart on you a little bit, you know. So but no, it's these projects are really cool, and I think it's project-based learning. And like you said, you never knew that you would have to go and learn Houdini to learn VDB Sims, and then build a shader, because I think a lot of it came from you curiously kind of playing with cell shaders in V-Ray, right? Is that kind of how it started?
Yeah. So it all started with, I kind of remember I was watching a video clip that got me inspired. It was Elephant. I think it was one of the Elephant, because that girl has like some really interesting video clips, like the music videos. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, what if I can, you know, I like that idea, but what if I can make something that is, you know, is adjacent, but it's mine, you know? Because we get inspired by different things. Like, I got inspired by a song, and
awesome.
Or by the visuals of, that were in the song.
Music video.
So I made a bunch of characters, and I was like, I love mangas. Like, let's just make them look like manga, you know? And that became like its own thing for me, because like, I found something that I don't do every day, which is drawing black and white characters in this very specific style that I've never used for work.
Yeah, that's another thing. I forgot about that. Yeah, because same as me, I was doing UI design, and then I was drawing Lost Boy. So it couldn't be more opposite. So same thing for you. I didn't realize that. Yeah.
So I did that, and then like I started going more and more in details, and like trying to figure out my own style with it. So does it look like something that's recognizable, or does it look like something that's just mine? And it's like, it is sort of like touching, you know, when you look at the black and white drawings. I mean, obviously it's a style that already exists, but also like touching upon some certain big names. Like my biggest inspiration, obviously, Otomo, for a lot of that work, a lot. But I always try to make, to my best ability to make it my own.
As you should.
And I think we were doing one of the Twitch streams where I just started drawing another sort of a scene. I was like, what if I could make it look like it's an anime,
Oh, the bike.
The bike. Yeah, the broken bike.
Right. Yeah.
And so I drew that. And then one day I was like, what if I could, because I would use DAZ 3D for posing characters sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And I would do a couple of paintings where there would be basically DAZ 3D. And it's like, oh, what if I can just do a jacket in Marvelous Designer so I don't have to draw it all the time? Mm-hmm. So I would do that. And what if I do the pants with the patterns? So like I can just literally pose the character and have that ready to go and just overpaint and make it my own. And so like there was always like a small addition, what if, and it was just evolving all the time. And then once I did that painting, it was like, what if I did it as a painting. I did have characters that were built in DAZ 3D, but I overpainted them. I didn't do a shader. And so like, okay, what if I could do a shader that looks like a manga shader, right? So I did those, like a couple of studies like that, posted on Instagram. What if I could do a cell shader? Because I've seen like a lot of cell shaded stuff,
Yeah.
And it looks fine, but it looks very artificial, right? And don't get me wrong,
it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, what I do, like what I did with the manga, like the anime shader with V-Ray, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's just like how I wrangled the nodes together and which node goes where, basically, right? It's the tools are there. It's not like I'm coding anything, but I would go in very specifics of what each node are supposed to do and how can I achieve this very specific result, and how I can jump the hoops where it looks nice from one angle, but the moment I change the camera or the lighting a little bit, it looks like shit, So those are like the things you kind of learn over time. And there was like, I don't know, I was like, what if I just make it move? And I was like, what if I just make an anime?
Yeah.
And what if I make, the X length of a video, and then I cut like a Rip-O-Matic and send it to you, and I was like, you're fucking nuts. Cut it by like, make it like 1/5.
Because it was like 5 minutes or something. Like, you're crazy, dude. Crazy. It's just you, man.
Yeah.
Because
that's how it happened. But basically, that's how it happened.
It took Mike and I a whole year to do, and that was a minute. So it's like, that's crazy, dude. So every minute takes about a year, usually, if you're really dedicating to it. Because you've been working on it for a year and a half.
Less than a year.
Less than a year.
Yeah, from the moment I started, like I'm doing it and I took a long break too from it as well. Yeah. Just like as you take for work, I had to take a break just to get my mind off it as well. Because I think, this is the one thing that I've never done, like a long project. And I think that's such a relatable thing. Maybe not necessarily for doing long projects, but like if you're, and going back to like, this is a perfect time to learn. And maybe that's an advice that kind of would work for a lot of the guys and girls and everyone who's listening. Sometimes we want to start something and you don't know where to start. And you get overwhelmed by the idea that there's already a lot of artists that are doing this. Or maybe like, oh, I need to learn this and this and this and this and this and this and this.
I get that too. That's like learning fatigue.
And you're just like, where do I even start? And I think the best way I found for myself when I want to learn something that is really difficult is to try to find people I can ask for advice. Not necessarily like, hey, can you Google shit for me because I'm too lazy, but like literally just an advice, like what are the steps, because you can find that information. Even if you cannot find a person that will answer it to you, you can go on Google binge and start getting an information where like, okay, if you want to make a film, watch documentaries, how the films are made, like real films. and you'll understand more or less what the process is. Okay, usually they start with script or an idea. They maybe have some concept art. They do storyboards, and then they do, they break it down, usually in previs, right? They will do a previs of how the movie is going to flow, what the scenes are going to be,
I will say,
how they're going to be cut.
Sorry, I don't mean to butt in, but I'd say ahead. Even when another thing that I've noticed when I actually go through the process, when you really legitimately go through the process, even as we're making Star Wars right now, it's like they had a system in which they did it, but there's other new systems to do.
Right.
So the cool thing is you can go like, oh shit, like they did this, but they didn't have this technology, they didn't have like this mode of actually communicating and doing this. So what's cool is like I like to learn by watching the past, but it's all about thinking too, like what is for the future. I think the more you can think about like how these things are going to improve yourself and the future, the better, like, because it's just going to you're going to take what you learn and then take it to the next stage. What you learn should never be like, this is it, like I'm learning painting and composition. Like, it's so funny when people are like, there's a rule to composition and 1, 2, 3. It's like, bitch, shut the fuck up. There's no rules. That's the thing. That's what's funny. You could like break all the rules. Like, and if you don't think so, watch Mr. Robot, the show, and like look at how they shot that, because it's like all over the place compositionally, and it's awesome because it fits and it works and it's totally cool. And it doesn't mean because it isn't filmed like Roger Deakins. I praise Roger Deakins, but it's because it isn't. There's a different ways to it. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm saying like it's cool because when you actually learn and you actually go through the process, you can actually fuse in your cross-pollination, because you're like, oh shit, like they don't know that I've been doing this for this whole time, so I have a workaround. I could do this faster, So
yeah,
cool.
This is a very valid point. I didn't think about that. I mean, obviously we kind of some of those things come naturally through the experience, but that's true. Like you watch something, okay, it was done that way. Is there but here's the thing, like it might spark a question, okay, can I do it in a different way, right? And it makes you curious, it makes you explore. And I think that's like one of the traits that, or one of those things that if you're curious about something, it will be much easier to find answers. And just not being lazy about it, like not thinking that someone's gonna do it for you.
Yeah,
that's like one of the most important things that comes with it. It's just like, if you want to do something for yourself, if you can find someone who will help you to do it with you, that's awesome. But it's very rare. It's very rare you're gonna find a person that's gonna dedicate their time and effort towards something that is only benefiting you specifically, right? Because we all have lives. Like everyone has their own life, their own goals, But
I'm talking about the king of that though, with all these passion projects, So, and that's really hard navigating everybody else's interests and stuff too,
right?
Because I know at the end of the day, I'm benefiting from this, but I also try to make it as clear and open as possible with all my collaborators. Like, you can benefit as much as you want from this. It's up to you. How much do you want to carry? You can carry all this way if you want. I don't want it, but then you got to take that, the responsibility, and it's got to be better than what I'll make. If it isn't, then get out of my way.
Right.
So because I'm very demanding on that way.
And you're very honest about it too.
You have to be, because art is honest. That's the cool thing about it, is like you could look at something and not know a thing about it with art, and you can go like, oh, well, that's shitty. Oh, well, why it's shitty? Well, because it's not true. Why isn't it true? Because they didn't sit there and do the work. Why do you say that? Because it didn't have the heart and soul. Why not? And as you go down and follow it, like if we critiqued a piece of work and like really got down to the bottom of it, we go, okay, well, they use this plugin and they didn't do this, and they did it in quickness, and they didn't think about that, and they didn't compose that, and this is, well, like, you could really just destroy everything really if you wanted to. That's not the goal, obviously, but it's important to see all those things and to be honest with art, because if you're not, then it's like, what are you doing? So
right. Wasn't that psychological trick where like a therapist would ask you like 5 questions in a row, like why this, why that, why this, like following up your answer to get to the root of the problem. I think I overheard something.
Makes sense.
That it definitely makes sense. But yeah, but the idea that you get stuck with like being overwhelmed with, I want to learn something, but how do I do it? I don't know where to start. That's something that every single creative goes through. There's no one who has perfect answers for everything. That just never happens.
And if they do, they're lying.
They're lying for sure. Yeah. Don't believe them. Because like I remember when you started thinking about doing, I mean, you've been always doing short films, but you started with like more of a visual vignettes. You know, you would do like more of a visual storytelling rather than actual storytelling. Mm-hmm. But I could tell like Star Wars for you gonna be something different because
it's so hard
because you've been sending me like fucking story books and screenwriting fucking shit all the time for like a month straight.
Yeah, you had to. Well, if you're gonna
I knew
tell stories,
you're taking it seriously. Yeah. And I was talking with, I mean, I did the podcast during the in December for like the Christmas special with Eitan and Shadi. And I was
shout outs,
and Shadi was talking about it too, like, you know, before he started working on his own, because he's doing his own animation, like idea and pitch of story, basically like a pitch for what could be like a feature animation. Mm-hmm. But he didn't do it for like, oh, let me just draw a couple of pictures and draft a synopsis from my ass and there you go. Like he actually studied script writing, and I remember when he did that, when he for the first time went to like actual script writing classes, where he would find classes in LA for the writers, and that was like years ago, where he was just like, I'm gonna study this shit because I'm basically a white belt in it, you know, I have no idea what I'm doing. So yeah, like you always start with nothing. Like you start from the very base level, and it's very difficult to navigate, especially if you're overwhelmed with information. And sometimes the best way you can deal with it is just like, okay, out of all of those, you know, confusing things, what's the most fundamental thing that I don't know but I need to learn? And starting with that usually leads to all the answers along the way, because like there's the information fatigue, like you've mentioned. Yeah, it's
just a good sign that you're onto the right thing is you actually think it's lame, it's beneath you, and it's not worthy of your time. That's actually the thing you should be learning.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like I should learn perspective or composition or something, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I know composition, blah blah, and then it turns out you don't, and you should learn it. You know, that's actually, I'm speaking to myself. So like, well, I think I know composition design wise, but when it comes into building scenes and building depth, it's something that I'm actually struggling with and I'm learning right now. But again, like you said, it's like you're honest. Like, yes, you have to be honest. I'm constantly being like, well, I literally look at my work and then I look at your work and I go, well, where's the gap here? And I go, well, the gap is here and it could go there. And like, but you see my progress. So I would send you something like, oh, okay, look, it's getting better. So I'm like, okay, good. Because at least it's getting better. So, but I'm trying to do it exponentially fast, you know, so because my patience is very low. And I'm hard on myself, so then I just binge it. So, but it's a common question that I get to from people, and it's a totally applicable question. It's like, what should I learn? And why should I, like, you know, when I want to start a project, what should I learn? And it usually just comes down. That's why we ran through the timeline for Mache's project, because he's explaining to you guys like, oh, well, it came from curiosity and then what ifs. There was a chain of what ifs for like 6 months, and then he was like, oh shit, like.
2 years
what ifs
actually
add up to it.
2 years of what ifs, or even more.
Well, Showtime, you've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, it's like, and everyone's like, why would you like? Are you gonna pitch? Or you have like different projects? Like,
who cares?
Yeah, I don't care about that personally. And it's one of those things where, to me, it's like a playground. You know, it's like I wanna go play with my toys. You know, and then I just draw some Showtime stuff. You know. I feel like after finishing this film, I'll be over it for a bit.
Sure. I mean, after we finished the Lost Boy film, I didn't want to see or hear or talk about it for months. I was like, I'm fucking tired of that shit.
But who knows? I already have like ideas, so I could do a scene like that. I could draw shit like that, you know?
Yes.
But it's like ever evolving. I don't marry myself to like the idea that this has to be specifically this very thing. It's always always evolving and changing for me. It's almost like an organism that's constantly like changing and evolving. So
I think that's another sign that you're onto the right track when it's like that.
Yeah, because I like, if this has to be this specific character, yeah, but I have ideas for other characters. Does it have to be this world? Yeah, but I have ideas like how to fuck up this world to make it something different as well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that by itself becomes a completely different idea and a completely different quote unquote IP. But yeah,
that's important, and I think that's another telltale sign that you're actually onto the point of doing it. When I was doing all these Lost Boy drawings, I was just drawing. I was having fun, and I didn't give a fuck about what anybody thought or cared.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the most fun. The moment that it started to get harder for me was when I started sharing it. It started becoming this other thing. Then everybody else's opinions were getting in the way of it. And I was like, so then I was thinking like, oh shit, like I need to make all these other things. And I was not listening to myself, where I was like, if I just would have kind of, I admire your ability to just kind of lock in and go like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to do what I want. And I'm going to draw this. So like, and I'll give you shit. And you're like, I don't care. And then you go off and keep doing it. I'm doing it to test you. I'm saying like, oh, how long is he going to do that? And he does it and you do it. I'm like, okay, he's pretty stringent on that. Okay, that's good. Because, you know, you could easily go like, I'm going to just kind of do this because people like this or whatever. But you're constantly going like, I like this because this is part of my taste, you know. So
I don't read comments, but I do read comments.
Sure. Well, yeah. And nobody's unsusceptible to like critiques, you know. So
you just have to believe in it. And you know, it's sometimes you read comments and it strikes you like it hurts you. But you will know if it hurts you in the right or wrong way. Like if it hurts you in a way where it's like, fuck, well, I'm exposed, then that means that's a legit criticism that you need to like perhaps look into. Or, well, you don't need to, but it could be something that you're going to learn, like you could learn from it. But if it's like some, you know, vile shit, it's like, why would I care, you know? And it's also like they're recognizing a legit comment or legit criticism from just someone who just has a different taste or literally don't like you. You know, that's another thing.
Yeah. Let's do some questions, huh?
Yeah, let's get into that. We've been like talking for almost 2 hours, and
really?
Yeah.
Shit.
Shit balls. It's good though. It's good. We got a bunch of questions. Maybe we should. I mean, I know you did the same. Maybe we should just do, you know, first me, then you, then me, and we can start with you if you want, or I could start. Sure. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I'll start it off. This is a good question, actually. This comes from Hansi Suje. When you guys do collab together, what kind of rules do you set for each other? It's a good question.
Very good question. Did we ever set up any roles? We're always like fucking like two nerds, like, let's do this.
We don't give a fuck.
We're just like,
I think there's a lot of respect for one another.
What about this idea? It's like two nerds completely just obsessed about something and going back and forth. Like we found like this weird, I mean, it's so like, I almost think like, oh, we should do a collab. Because like I don't think we've done enough things together. It's like, fuck, we've worked on so many things together. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's true, but it's always been like back and forth. We literally would just like send each other's files and, oh, it's your turn, do whatever.
Doing that right now, actually. Yeah. Ironically, but I think that's actually a good sign because you're obviously much better at a lot of things in regards to digital art than I am. So I'm constantly learning from you. But when I paint with you, I get really I add a lot of intensity to my energy when I paint, so that when I know that you get it, you're not like, what the shit, you know? Yeah. So actually, it sharpens me, makes me like really high pace. So. But we actually have totally different styles too. It was kind of cool because when we did those Showtime versus Lost Boy, I went to your style. But when I actually draw Lost Boy, it's all freestyle, fucking weird energy, weirdness, and kind of chaotic and stuff. So yeah, it's a little different. Like, there's no ego because it's like, who cares? Like, we're just having fun. So I don't like the idea of us ever setting up rules. I think because we're honest with each other, if we find faults in one another's skill, we would just say it with knowing that we wouldn't get hurt about it. Because it's like, because I know my place, and I think you do as well. And so I think we're constantly.
You're relentless with that.
What's that?
With like when you notice, that's I always if someone asks me like what is it like to be friends with Ash, I would say it's very intense.
Sorry.
But in a
I'm
positive
like Gordon
way,
Ramsay, because the thick version of Gordon Ramsay, the art version.
No, because you are raw. Like you are very raw. Like and you're relentless. You know, if you don't like something, you will say it over and over until like, fuck, just shut up.
Sorry.
Like stop fucking, like I'm already down. Like you don't have to keep fucking kicking me.
As long as I know you can take it. I'm not real and raw with everybody. It's usually just you and other close friends.
But the positive side of this is it comes from your heart. It's never malicious, you know.
No.
And
that's good.
And any like there's moments where it is malicious, like fuck this asshole, like I'm just gonna kill you. But it's usually
just to troll you.
But it's usually, you know, related to some other events that, you know, we are both aware of, and that's like, okay, I know where it's coming from. I shouldn't take this as an insult.
Thanks. You're a better person than I am dealing with this. Yeah.
No, I'm a potato.
It's true though. It's true. Yeah,
but to your point, like, yeah, you have a different energy, but we kind of bounce back and forth. Like it's actually kind of cool because like if I do something and you're like, dude, you just like it's nice, but like what if this? And I was like, oh shit, like we did that with bikes, you know, on Ghost in the Shell, where you would just like fucking went crazy with weird shit. You know, like fuck, I never thought about that. You know, like I never thought about doing it that way. And like vice versa with the Lost Boy versus Showtime and all that stuff. So it's always like a very interesting energy, but it's like I don't think we do it in a very structured manner at all.
No.
Yeah,
I think we'd be pretty damaging if we were able to have a studio together and we would spend like 1 week focused on the month. Just 1 week, we would just focus and crush through shit and then go away. I think it could be really interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think we would stand each other for more than a week.
No.
Like
we would want to kill each other. That's true friendship, though. I think that's true friendship. I don't think like none of my friends and it comes down to, I don't even enjoy my own self all the time. You know what I mean? It's like I need time for myself because I am so intense. And it's unfortunate. I'm going to actually see my therapist tomorrow. So like I'm still trying to learn with like living with myself. So I'm not so intense. It's just, yeah. But everybody
just cruise that Raptor, get all energy out.
Raptor, you know? So get that BDE, fly
I'm so
out.
fucking jealous.
Yeah, but no, I apologize too because I know I can be intense, and we can both be too, and we can both be really crude. So, but at the same time, it's true though.
It's all good.
But it does. Yeah, it comes from. I think I've always been like that, and it's a bummer because I think I always just want to have fun, and have a good time, but usually it doesn't translate like that all the time. So.
I don't know. I think you're doing all right.
Yeah. But there's no rules, I think, to answer the question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Thank you for that question.
I'm gonna ask this question. That's from Connor Fisher. That's on Twitter. Advice if your work dries up in this madness, and that's in relation to coronavirus. I think a one coronavirus question is good to have.
You gonna answer it, or you want me to?
Yeah, maybe you start.
So advice if your work dries up during this time.
Yeah, I mean that's a possibility for all of us, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've said it, and I've always said it, and I've said it again and again, and I'll say it over again. Like it's your responsibility as a person to take responsibility of your finances. So you should never, if you can, like allow yourself to go bankrupt after like a month of no work or something like that. For all freelancers, it's a fucking rule that you need to save up 6 months of income.
Yeah.
So that you could survive for 6 months. So if you don't have work for 3 days because coronavirus has affected the civilization in America for 3 days so far, then that's your fault. But if it isn't and you're worried about it drying up, I'd say honestly, the biggest advice I can give you is, first off, I hope this is teaching everybody a lesson to save up. I've always done this. My wife and I have been really good about saving. And now we just save everything for retirement stuff. Anything that goes over a cap that we're supposed to pay for the daily or the monthly cost of living, it all goes into savings and retirement. But anyways, I think what you should be doing now, if you have any kind of scare, is add to your skill, add to your arsenal, go learn new things, study, learn from other people. There's so many resources. Not only is there Learn Square, there's these artists have Gumroads. There's so many things out there that you can. Yep. I mean, I've just been throwing cash all over the place. I'm like fucking boom, 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 buying all these things because I want to learn and I want to be better. And if I'm learning, then you should be learning too, because we're competing. So I think that's what I would say. As I'd say, like right now, like it's a great time to go and learn and skill and get some new skills and grow and make sure you save up so this isn't a problem.
I think most of like really successful people tell you that investing in yourself is always the best investment. If you don't have like money to invest in anything else. I mean, obviously you want to, there's like rules. I agree with you. Like you want to save money for the worst, right? Like you want to have that'll, you know, it's called let's call it a nut. I think so. I've heard it, I think from Joe Rogan. Like what's your nut?
Sexual.
What's your nut? Like what's your like absolutely minimal expense, monthly expense? Like, you know, enough to get by without all the luxuries of, you know, fucking going to whatever with friends, coffee, you name it, whatever your luxury is. For one, it might be a coffee. For someone else, might be fucking, I don't know, buying expensive clothes, right? But yeah, just having that 6 month, absolutely important. And then investing in yourself. Like if you're in a situation like now, where you might not be able to go to work, invest in yourself. Like you're gonna be in this situation whether you like it or not, because of how the world is right now. So it's probably the best time where, like, even if you want to just save and hunker down, like I'm not spending anything. There's free resources everywhere. YouTube is filled with it. It's just a giant library of free, and you can learn everything. From YouTube, just through YouTube alone, you can learn everything. Maybe you're not going to learn from like your favorite artist, but hey, you're going to learn enough to have like an extra knowledge about something, you know?
Yeah. Dude, I watched Francois. I watched Francois go from doing motion graphic kind of stuff and then doing kind of like film stuff to doing the stuff with Passage with him and I, and then he went off and did concept art. But it felt like a month or two. He's crushing it, and he instantly got jobs right away. Yeah, because his work was so good, and he sat there and put in the work and got good, and he learned from the right people and studied and studied and studied and studied and focused and studied. So when he had a little bit of a lull, he just reshifted and focused, and he's so happy now.
Yeah,
and that's because he invested in himself. So I'd say invest in yourself. Learn new things.
I think entertainment is probably the most resilient industry right now, because in the moment like that, everyone wants to be entertained, like just get their head off from just always thinking about news. Like we want to, you know, think about things that are not necessarily real world, just to get like I need to relax for a bit at least, you know, I want to watch my movie or something. And it's always like a long term. The projects that are done in entertainment most of the time are done as a long term. We talked about it already. It's one of those more resilient industries, and that is also very resilient to the idea of being in the office, meaning like once you learn the skill to be in this, like once you learn creative skills, you can work remotely, which is kind of like, what if there's a next pandemic? Well, then I'm now equipped for the next one, right? If that happens. Yeah, I mean, hopefully not, and I really hope that's not gonna happen.
I can't wait for the next one. Hyped,
super hyped. But yeah, I would say it can once everyone's out of job, that we're gonna have you're not gonna be thinking about that shit anymore. There's gonna be different issues to think about once we get to that point. But I don't think it's gonna happen. This is not the kind of pandemic that's gonna. It's
no. If people are dying like crazy, then we'd be really screwed.
This is worse than influenza, but not much worse. You know, the problem is it's very bad for elderly and people that has underlying condition. I'm not dismaying it as just like it's really bad for. It's not bad for kids. It is as well. Like anything can happen, and like people shouldn't take it lightly. But it's not the what was that film that came out in 2011? Contagion. Yeah, it's not that.
Oh yeah, it's Hollywood.
Yeah, that's Hollywood. I mean, they got a lot of things right in terms of like, but it's not the kind of disease that's gonna make the world like that at all. That's not gonna happen. But it's gonna be difficult. The life is gonna be difficult for at least a couple of months, if not a year or even more. It's definitely gonna change a lot of behaviors. I think a lot of positivity comes out of it too. Like you said, just the moments where you have those firefighters buying grocery for elderly. I think this is an opportunity for us to kind of like, hey, you know what? Like, whether you're on the whatever political side you're in, whatever you believe in, like just be nice, you know, because everything is so fragile and fragile.
9/11 changed New York big time.
Yeah,
psychologically for the people. From what I've seen, it was funny. I was on a flight to New York for a job, and I was talking to this lady sitting next to me, and she's from New York, and I was like, "Do you feel like it changed the city with 9/11 and stuff?" And she's like, "No," and I was like, "Really?" And she's like, "No," and I was like, "Why is that?" She's like, "No, everybody's still the same," and I disagree. She lives there, so she probably knows more than me, but the city that I knew before and after that event was significantly different, because people were like, holy shit, like we can't fight each other here. We have to work together.
We're neighbors.
There's actually bigger evil than like this person down the street or whatever. There's actual true legit like shitty people out there. So
yeah.
But I think I would say like the best advice is to acquire a new skill.
Yep.
Make yourself desirable and hireable, you know, like make yourself so good that no matter what, you're gonna be fine, you know. And then if you're not, like, try to save up enough money so that when this does happen, because it will happen, it's gonna happen again, and things are gonna fall out. Nothing's given, nothing's certain, and make sure that you're in a position where you can you can afford this. Because right now, like if this whole thing fell out, as long as the banks don't crash, hopefully, like I'm fine. My family and I, it's not going to be great, but we're good for a year. I don't have to do work for a year because we've been working so hard and saving up. But that's like years of hard work and sacrifice and saving up, you know? So,
yeah. But
you have to have that. If you don't have that, then what are you doing? So I don't know. I just don't believe in any system. It's all a joke, you know. Yeah, we're seeing it falling apart right now, and it's like.
And saving gives you freedom too, you know. Like you're not bound to not just travel, but just like, you know, sometimes you just like, do I really want to work on this thing again and crush my soul, you know? Or maybe can I invest more time into myself and learn new skill? It's usually that, like, learning new skills gets you somewhere. Like the way you work right now, the kind of work you do, I wasn't imagining you doing this kind of work 3-4 years ago.
Concept art stuff?
Yeah, just the concept. Like you were not into it at all. You know, it takes time. It takes a lot of effort. But
I just wasn't interested in it.
Right. But you know, it's one of those things where you have an opportunity now or anytime, and you can take it, and even if it's an hour a day, it's still over a year. That's 365 hours. That's a hell lot of time to learn something. It's a lot of time.
Yeah. It's great to invest in yourself too. Yeah.
You want to read another one?
Yeah. Okay. How to learn more skills at time, modeling, motion graphics, ZBrush. I think we kind of addressed that. How to learn more skills.
There's a lot of questions we addressed for sure.
Yeah, that's from Raneem. Okay, we already answered that. Hopefully, plan for the next decade in terms of creating. Decade shit. Actually, I stopped doing that. I stopped making decade plans because they're crushing. Actually, there's so many things that get in the way of my goals that really make me sad, and
Right.
and I also don't like to be so locked in to certain things. I mean, I have my rigid schedule, so I try not to be too stuck to things. But yeah, I don't plan that far out. I actually stopped planning far out. I just do like week to week because it's like perfect example is like doing this Star Wars project. If I were to expect this to get done at a certain date and it didn't, it would crush me. I feel like a failure and I'd hate myself and I get depressed. So if I don't do that, like I know I can trust myself to finish it because I have an amazing team of people that I'm working on this with, and then we're going to see it through. So I'm trusting in that method to work. So I don't plan that far away. I would, if I were to throw out lofty dreams, dream situation is Star Wars is successful in its own right. It has its own ability to kind of have legs. People that didn't see me as necessarily being a director, creative, see me in that role, and I'm able to go fulfill that part of my destiny, which is to go out and make larger format films or whatever. That's the lofty dream, right?
Cool.
So, but I'm not gonna, honestly, if that doesn't happen, I'm legitimately gonna be doing the same thing. We're gonna be doing podcasts. I'm gonna be making car stuff. Like, I'm gonna be taking photos. I'll be driving my Raptor around. Like, I'll be saving up for my retirement. Like, I'll be doing all these things because that's actually what's happening now. So I used to have these bigger, more romantic dreams of these things, and I've kind of reined them back because what was happening to me is I was having these high expectations and I was getting crushed by them because I wasn't hitting these goals. Because I'd look at Steven Spielberg and I go like, oh my God, he was like 28 when he made his first film. Or I look at these other guys and I started doing the comparison game. It was damaging me. Yeah. I was hurting. And then my ego was getting crushed and I was like fucking dying under the weight of it. And so it's just really unhealthy. So
it's not healthy at all. Yeah, comparing yourself, because you immediately, your brain tells you to compare yourself to others, and you get frustrated, and you start blaming others as well for your own mistakes. You know, it's like, fuck, I didn't reach that goal. There must be a reason why it wouldn't happen. It's definitely not me. It's probably this person, that person, and you just like, it just becomes very toxic. I agree with you.
It's always Trump, dude. I think about how many people blame Trump for weird stuff. Or just like, you know, just in general. Let's not go there, but like, just saying, you're right though. That's called the blame game. It's a legitimate psychological issue. Yeah. But,
I don't plan like 10 years ahead either. Like that's too long. Because like for me,
do you have any lofty goals though? Like big goals? Like
I do.
Move out of LA and get a Raptor, stuff like that.
Get a Raptor.
For those of you that don't know this, I just sold my NSX. I got a Ford Raptor. It's a truck. It's amazing. It's a crazy truck, and I keep throwing it into Mache's face that he doesn't have. It's just a joke. Yeah, but I
love it though. Yeah. I do have.
You want one?
I do want one. Yeah, it's a really fucking nice truck. Let me get wrong.
When you come out here, we'll shred in it. You'll have fun.
Yeah. I don't have like, I have like ideas of like, it would be nice. Let's put it this way. I have would be nice things in my head, you know, like it would be nice if I do that. And there's a certain amount of work you have to do towards it. But I always give it like a trial period and see how it affects me. Because if I set myself, I fucking need to do this no matter what, and then just kills me and I become like obsessive and really bad to other people and it just destroys my life and that's just not worth it, you know, because like maybe I'll achieve that goal and it's gonna be a long nothing is an overnight success. You have to work years towards something and really, you know, dedicate yourself towards it. But if it's destroying everything else that you really love, then that's not good.
Yeah,
because then you the trade-off, if the trade-off is fair in your estimate, then go for it. But if it's not, then that's probably not a good choice.
oftentimes too, when you think about goals that are so far and abstract that you think that you know what it is that you want, but you actually have no idea, because a lot of times we have a proximity or an articulation or an association of something like, oh, I want to be rich or I want to be famous. Rich and famous people, if you often talk to them or know them, they don't like being rich and famous, or they like one part of it. They like, I like to be rich, or I like to be famous. It's one or the other, and the rest of their life is probably quite more miserable because they're like, I don't like people. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to be identified as this person. So a lot of times when you put yourself that far out there, it's good, but it's also really dangerous because you don't know where you're going to be setting yourself up to. It's really dangerous because you're going to be like, ah, shit, like now I'm, this, and I didn't want to be this, a prime example is for me personally, I was like, oh, I want to be a director. And I don't know why I thought that. I think I thought that because it was the way for me to have the ultimate control. So I think that's really where it came from. So then I was like, okay, cool. I have this thing. I want to do this. And then I realized, holy shit, it's the same thing I realized when we were doing Learn Squared together. I was like, oh my God, like having a legit business is really not for me. It's a lot of calls, a lot of emails, a lot of frustration. From just, I'm speaking from me. This isn't Mitch or Andrew. It's just from my internal dialogue. But I mean, I could speak freely, so it's fine. It's free conch, dude.
It's free conch.
This ain't North Korea. You can't control me. But yeah. So so a lot of things that I thought were what I wanted to be, actually, they're not, because it's misleading because you think it's this thing, but it isn't. So it's really important to kind of, I try to do like weekly check-ins, spiritual check-ins, go like, am I doing the right thing? Am I aligned with what I want to do? How can I shift this, and there's been these really cool alignments in my life. Like, and this is like, I love cars. So I started doing these car things, and it's cool. Like, it's awesome watching Kaisel, because Kaisel started doing cars. We started doing cars together, but Kaisel went full into it.
Yeah.
And then I was obviously busy because I was doing Edifice, Epoch, all these other things, and also client work and family stuff. And it was awesome watching him skyrocket, but I was still interested in that because I still have a passion for it. So I keep doing them. And then I work on doing the project with Ken. Ken's awesome. Helped design his race car. Super cool. And then the Batmobile comes along. So it's like these epic opportunities. I never said in my mind, if I said in my mind, one day I want to build the Batmobile, I would be afraid of putting that out there.
Yeah.
Because the amount of, even when I was doing it, the amount of things that could have gone wrong, I missed email, I missed anything. Matt might not have seen things, or he might have been sick, or the weirdest anomalies could have happened. So if I put that in the universe, like, I want to design the Batmobile, I never once did that. I always thought that'd be really cool. So what I'm saying is I put the lofty goal of, it'd be really cool to have that, but I'm not going to say that that's going to be what I'm going to do, because it's too specific. It's really scary to do that. So I guess what I'm getting at is that you can put all these things out there, but just make them as almost like, for me at least, it's like, I want to be that person. I want to do that thing, but generally I just want to be a happy person. So let's ask myself, like, what do I need to do to to create happiness for myself? Because that's really what it comes down to. And everything else falls into that from there. So yeah, it comes from finding your personal happiness.
But it's one of those things for you where like you latch on an idea and you do your trade-off game. Okay, I can put that amount of energy towards it, and it's not going to destroy me. But then there's a nice to have goal. I'm doing it from the passion, but there's a nice to have goal that comes out of it. And once you realize one of those goals, like, oh shit, that's where it's at, and that's much better place to be than having this idea of like, I'm gonna do this. This is my goal. 5 years from now, fucking happening. And if it doesn't happen, it will crush you.
Crushing. Yeah.
Everyone's different though. Everyone's different. I know some people that have those long-term goals and they're so obsessed about that they'll reach it. I know people that are just obsessed about making money. That's the only thing in the world that they care about, working and making money, and nothing else really matters. Yeah, they don't do art. They are not artists. I'm talking about business people. Learn
trades and
really successful business people that that it's just like, I just don't, there's just a completely different computation that goes in your head, but yeah,
I have friends that are the same.
yeah, everyone's different. Yeah, you just have to find what drives you. Whatever drives you, that's probably where you're going to be successful at.
Always.
Yeah,
100%. Wherever your curiosity leads you. And if you're not a curious person, then I don't know what to tell you. And you should be curious, because
then I don't think we really have an advice, because like
we have no advice.
Yeah, because
why are you living if you don't have curiosity? Be serious. Like, what's the point? Like, well, it's almost like the monk, sitting there like,
I want to be a little more.
No, I'm being intense. No, that's true.
More politically correct in a way. It's like,
you're so woke, dude.
Yeah, I'm not woke. It's just like,
nah, you're right. I'm just fucking
Let's
around.
put it this way. I wouldn't say like, if you don't have curiosity, go fuck yourself.
Oh wait, did I say that? I did.
In a way, but
it's true. I'm just messing around. I
would say if you don't have curiosity, that's something my brain doesn't understand. And giving you advice, I can only give you an advice knowing that I have curiosity.
Nice.
And and
good save.
If you take that advice and work with it, that's perfect. But if you're not, that's just my advice. I'm not like a guru or whatever. It's just like, I don't know. Everyone's so different, That's one of those questions that, and there's a bunch of those actually, with the self-help books, which one you like the most. It's like, you know what? It's very difficult to pinpoint, because every single one of them is almost like a self-advice that the person who wrote it gives to themselves,
Yes, that's exactly it. It's all so bespoke and specific too.
Yeah.
And to clarify, I was just joking too. Like, if you don't have curiosity, obviously don't kill yourself. But what I'm saying is like, totally joking, guys.
You didn't say that. I put it in your mouth.
Yeah. Ooh, that's what she said. But okay. Anyways, the thing is you gotta have curiosity.
That's weird.
Dude, put your weenus in my mouth. Who said that, dude? Okay, but yeah. So I think the real key thing is like, it's important to have your curiosity. It's so important to have curiosity and a drive towards the things that you are interested in. And if you don't have that, you need to find it. Like this, that's like, I think what Jay said perfectly is, we can only give you these advice, if we can give any, based on our own comprehension of reality. And our comprehension of reality is based on the concept that we are living on our own terms of our own reality, which we've designed, and that's based off of us having a drive towards being curious about things. Yep. So we are really shitty about answering these quickly. We should probably go through.
I have one more question, and then we just do like maybe a few more rapid fire, and then close it down. Yeah, what do you think will be the most interesting art trend of the next decade?
Yeah, go for that one.
It's very I don't know. Like it's just so many things that are in works that are very unconvincing to me just yet. There's certain things that are becoming very viable tools. Let's put it this way. I don't think there are any developing trends. I actually think it's opposite. People are enjoying looking at the things from the past and finding quality in it. When you go on Instagram, there's so many artists that get really appreciated for traditional art, with which 5 years ago someone would say is a dead,
it's true,
dead art, basically. Like, what, traditional artists, you're gonna work in entertainment with this? And now it's like a booming, because there's a completely different market for it now. I think it's not going to be a maybe specific art trend, because that's something I just cannot predict. I'm not as smart enough to do it. But I think there's certain trends that are going to be good for artists in general. One, the diversity of choices you're going to be able to make to sustain yourself. You don't necessarily need to be working in film, entertainment, industrial design, any of those industries that have always been like the cornerstone of what the artists are supposed to do. I think that's out of the window by now already. And there's a lot there's
you
a
have
lot
the
of
kids like clapping and screaming. Hey, you should get that sound bite.
I've been preaching that for forever. There are artists that are making way better living not being in the industry and doing art and doing what they love, and that's a sign of a time, and I think it's really encouraging. And I think that just like even with what's happening now with the pandemic, working remotely, I think that's one of the things that are going to become more of a thing, even when it's all over, right? I mean, it's probably never going to be over.
Way more cost effective for people. I don't see why they don't.
I think there's a value that the company is going to start finding, and it's also like a wake up call. Like when shit like that happens, like we better be ready next time, But who knows? That's just like it's very difficult to predict those things. Yeah, let's do a few more. What do you think? What actually you think? And then we're gonna do rapid fire. Yeah.
Trends coming up. I think faster forms of media is going to become more prevalent. Things are just going to get quicker, really. So I think the trends are going to be. So there's two different levels. There's going to be the quality-based trends, and there's going to be the quantity-based trends. The quantity-based trends is going to be like the everyday burnouts, like cool and like learn how to do like simple things and have fun, Bob Ross style,
Right.
Then there's the quality trends, and the quality trends are going to be the ones that are kind of leading the upper echelon kind of things. And that's going to be people that are going to be really pushing the boundaries with what Houdini and Unreal Engine can do. I think that merger is going to be really interesting because real-time rendering, real-time experiences, I think are going to be the new exchange. Because if you look at the evolution of photography, you see it's black and white, and then it's color, and then it turns into video, and then video turns into HD, 4K, 8K, blah, 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 so on and so forth. That's all still relevant based on two-dimensional screen technology. The next thing is full immersion technologies, and then applicable like manipulative art, basically. So films are going to start to become kind of like
and then Matrix.
Yeah, pretty much, and I have this whole theory that like eventually like the whole idea is if we can figure out how to map and rechange and synthesize a memory, then we're done, because everything we've existed for our own reality doesn't matter anymore, because we've actually gone off and made our own new synthesized reality, and we're literally going to become gods of our own. But we're not going to see any of that stuff, so
that's
bummer.
So far away.
And we're literally going to miss like immortality probably by like 80 years or so. I think 100 years or so another century, and then immortality is going to be within the grasp. So I think it's possible, and people are going to go colonize other places. And literally the thing is, once that human species can evolve past our bodies, like basically evolve out of our bodies and minds and become energy ourselves, then that's when it's going to become a thing.
But that's not a decade from now.
No, that's not a decade. That's not a decade.
No. But
that's eventually where we're going to evolve, I think. So that's just my opinion.
I agree on Unreal and Houdini for sure.
Who cares about that show? Talk about The Matrix. No, I'm joking. I just went on a super crazy tangent. How old were you when you started this journey of digital art, and what did you look like? It's a weird question. This has come from Adam H333. What did I look like? It's probably like shit, probably like a little nerd. I think when I was young, I had like long hair. I was just like a crazy surfer kid.
How long hair you had?
Oh, dude, down to my butt, man.
Dude, same.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Nerds, dude.
I was a metalhead. Real metalhead, yeah.
I had hair, but I shaved everything except like my bangs, and I had these long bangs. I was like a goofus. I'm still a goofus. So, but yeah. So that's a weird question what I look like. But how old was I when I started the digital art? Well, I think I started doing digital art like in high school. So like 98, I think. It's when like DeviantArt first started, and like Photoshop was actually somewhat good, but they didn't have a Cintiq or Wacom or anything yet. So
damn, you started earlier than me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I actually didn't. I would do digital art. I would scan my art in, and I would just like do color corrections, like lame stuff.
Right.
But I didn't do painting and anything like that until probably didn't do painting, like try to do that until like Ghost in the Shell time, kind of around there.
Right.
So I kind of took my ability to paint in real life and kind of try to transition it in. So when we were doing Ghost in the Shell, it was kind of when I really started to push harder for it, I think. I don't know when that was, 6 years ago. So 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
So long ago.
I looked like a metalhead when I started. Yeah. I was 18, 17. Fuck, I can't remember anymore.
Cornelius Domrick showed me some.
I've been always drawing, but like digital art, I don't know. Digital art was 2002, 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I discovered Cjun forums and like, whoa, what's going on here?
Hey, Papi.
Hey, Papi. What projects in the last decade would you love to be a part of?
The latest Blade Runner would have been really cool to work on. Most any Denis Villeneuve's work.
Yeah, those are great.
I actually would love to work with Daniel. I think his name's Daniel Kane France. He did Place Beyond the Pines. Like, I want to kind of work with directors and people that don't do any of this stuff at all anyways, you know. I just want to like literally like I want to shoot their films, or I don't know, like help them somehow, you know. So like I watched this movie called A Ghost Story. It was a really beautiful film, and they had moments of CGI in it actually, but it was like really well done, but it was very limited. And I love that. I was like, oh, this is so cool, where the CGI isn't the thing, you know. It's like it's the supplement or the supporting actor, but it's not the lead, you know.
Right.
But I think that, and I'm trying to think. I mean, Black Mirror is the first season of Black Mirror was fucking great.
Yeah, that would be fun to work on for sure.
I mean, obviously, with the Coen brothers. I mean, literally, if the Coen brothers like, hey, like, we want you to just come here and like hold my butt, you know. All right, I'll be there.
Hold my butt. All right, all right.
Well,
we gotta realize the decade was 2010, so it's like kind of crazy that it's not that far away, but it is 10 years later, you know.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I can't think. Well, what else is there? There's been a lot of films and projects. I mean, oh man. You know what? I don't think there's anything memorable outside of like Denis Villeneuve, right? That's how you spell his name. I mean, there's Fincher films too, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of the films that he's done in the last 10 years. Let me look up iconic films.
I would love to work in Sicario. Fuck, that would be a good project to work on.
Yeah, Sicario is a great example. Yeah, but
it's it's one of those things where you think you might love it, but you never know.
Exactly, it actually ruins it for you.
Yeah, because I have friends that worked on like most like the bangers. They're like, fuck, this movie is the best movie ever made. Probably fun to work on. Like, not really.
Yes.
And then we worked together on Ghost in the Shell. It turned out how it turned out, but it was fucking amazing project to work on.
Yes,
it was a lot of fun. Amazing. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, like any Paul Thomas Anderson film, I would love to be a part of. Like, I adore his films. I adore him as a creative person. So, like, The Master was awesome. Like Mad Max Fury Road, that'd be fucking epic.
That would be fun. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Honestly, to your point too, sometimes it's actually nicer to just be a fan of these things, because then you have no connection to it, you know. Because I know friends that worked on some of these projects, and they're like, they have nothing but bad things to say, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't work on that, because I can just enjoy it from the outside, you know, which is nice. So, but yeah, I mean, there's so many projects really, but yeah, Denis films, Blade Runner would have been awesome to work on. I mean, any of these things, I love being on set, and I'll do whatever. I just love it. I love the energy of a production, like running like at that speed, you know. So there's a lot of them. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
We should move on to the next question, honestly.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at movies. I'm like, what is
your average time schedule? Do you start working early or work late?
And I think the biggest problem for me, and in freelancing and in general, is it's always inconsistent, and it's really a problem. So like last night, or I was working on client stuff and I was just jamming and I didn't want to break the flow. And so I do 2 shifts in the day. I do about an 8-hour shift in the day, and then I do an 8-hour shift at night. And I ended up just staying up until 6 o'clock working. So it's stupid. So, but if I'm on a really good regimen, I like to get up at 10, do breakfast, talk with my wife for the first 30 minutes or so. And then I get into work mode 10:30 and I roll through until about 7. And I stop and then I cook dinner or I spend time with the family until about 9:30 or 10. And then second shift comes around. I do pick up on anything that I missed client-wise. And then if it's just my personal stuff, then I'm just focusing on those massive checklists that I make. And it all kind of goes from there, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just like chipping away slowly.
Yeah, for me, it's like I fucking waking up early is the worst thing.
I hate it.
I cannot imagine. Yeah, I know people that like to wake up early and they go to bed very early. Not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me. I feel terrible. Yeah, it just ruins my day.
I love the morning though. I love the early morning. I love it so much because it's so cool. There's a bigger day.
Right, when it's still quiet. Yeah, it can be fun, but not when I know that I have a whole day ahead of work. And because I know it's usually gonna go very late, and but by that point I'm gonna be exhausted. That's too much. I don't know if I have like a specific time at which I wake up, unless I really need to for like a call or meeting. I usually try to wake up before noon, generally in the proximity of anywhere between 9 and the noon, and then have like one major goal. This is the work that I need to do today, and I need to spend X amount of hours at least, or however many hours I need to get done what I need to get done. Whether it's going to take me 5 hours or 12 hours, doesn't matter. Like that's the goal for today, because I know that's, if I complete that goal, I've completed the task to make my work obligations proper, right? And then I schedule my time to have time with family, obviously a little bit, whether it's morning or lunch or, try to be very flexible. I sometimes just take a break during like the afternoons, like let's go for a coffee or something, and then pretty much dinner. I try to get dinner with family more religiously nowadays, because I found like if you just work and work, it's you get too detached from reality. Family
eats to dinner, lives together,
and then evenings
together.
Evenings is personal stuff. Always I try to leave all the personal stuff towards the evening, because if it's exciting enough for me to work on, I'll work on it. If it's not, then that means that's maybe not a good idea to touch it now. Yeah.
That's what she said. Okay. I got a good question. Well, it's kind of a common question. I don't know if I can answer this properly, but _it's men V. What are the best ways to improve rendering quality with Octane and Cinema 4D? The best way to learn and do that is to literally just sit with it. Last night I was using it, and I love Octane for many reasons, but it was driving me bonkers because it crashed every 30 minutes. But I was also throwing like trillions of stuff at it. So but I think the best way that I've learned to improve it is have a scrupulous eye towards whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and be relentless on pursuing what it is that you're after. And so like just do studies, like do shader ball studies, like, okay, how does this work? The reason why I'm not like a master of any of these things is because I just do them very based on projects. So I might be like really good with like space stuff because of Epoch or something, but I don't know shit about these other things, but it doesn't matter. So for me, it's like, I think improving your ability with any render engine or just renders in general is to do studies. I was just listening to, let's see if I can find him. He has a really good YouTube channel. He's a really sweet guy. He looks like Jesus. EYEDESYN, iDesign. He's on YouTube, and I subscribe to his channel, and he does awesome, really informative, great tutorials on Octane specifically. And he's really great, and he's very gracious with his time, and shares a lot of really great stuff. So he's really good. So, and I've been using Octane for a long time, and he was teaching me stuff like, oh shit, I didn't know that, or I didn't know that thing, and there's a lot of cool things to be learned from him on that. So yeah.
What was the question again?
Like, how do you improve your rendering quality or skills? And it was specifically, I think, probably towards me because it was Octane Cinema 4D. So.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a question about books. We already answered that. I don't think there's any like a lot of questions we already answered. There's a lot of like love, best news ever, how you became friends. We kind of already answered that.
How did we become friends? I think I reached out to you or for the podcast, right?
Yeah, we did the podcast together.
Yeah. I know, forgot.
And then it kind of went from there because we were talking, and then you're like, hey, I'm doing Ghost in the Shell. I was like, fuck yeah, let's do that. And we did that. I've helped a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. You did the scene where she's sitting at the window.
Yeah.
And you did another one, didn't you? Or is that the one?
Yeah, with the water.
That's right.
One of the water scenes. So we did a little bit of work together, and then you're like, hey, you should do jujitsu, and I started doing jujitsu, and we were talking all the time. So it kind of snowballed from there.
Then Ghost in the Shell, then Learn Squared. Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Challenges of running your own business with concept art. I guess it's like a different layered, right? Like if you like you should probably have a business, meaning like LLC or something, so you're protected. Like you have a liability protection. That's, I think, like nowadays with like all the litigations fucking thrown left and right, it's probably a good idea to have,
Yeah.
And for tax purposes as well. It's always good.
I agree. Yeah. I think
but like running a business where you like do hire people to do work for you, that's another ball.
I do that and it's tough. Yeah,
it's difficult.
It's very difficult. I just hire friends and I pay them as best I can, and it's really difficult because you have to manage your expectations and timelines and stuff. It's really challenging.
Yeah,
it's definitely possible, but I think the biggest challenge that I've experienced is just managing people's expectations. I've actually turned down a lot more jobs that were bigger in scope because they caused me so much stress. It's just not worth it to me. So I've kind of avoided it because I just don't like the magnitude that it gives me. If I can't fulfill it within like myself and maybe hiring 2 other friends, I usually don't want to do it. And people will be like, oh, that's a bummer. You missed out on like this opportunity with this work with this big client. But I go, not really, because like it's more going to hurt me anyways because I'm going to be so stressed out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've already gone down this road so many times. And it's like at the end of the day, you get all these awards, or you make all these accomplishments, and they're not really anything.
Yeah, you know what? Everyone forgets about them a year later. Like, oh, you worked in this thing. Who cares?
Yeah. It's all like it's just like oh, this is good, and it's cool. It's definitely cool and it's validated. But yeah, I think managing
some things stay maybe longer for a few years, but that's about it.
Yeah, managing expectations is difficult. Search for Jetpack asked me, please come on Discord. I don't even know what that is. John Joe 3D. I'm so behind on this. Like, you would clown on me all the times. I don't do the Reddit thing. I don't do any of those things. I feel like why would I want to do that? As much as I'd love to be social with people or whatever, it's like there's such a fucking time suck vacuum. Like, I don't even play video games. Like,
Yeah.
What skill, technical or social, has helped you most in your careers? Communication.
Yeah.
Listening.
Yeah, listening. Oh yeah, listening, dude. Listening is so important, and communication, and just being like reasonable, I think. Yeah. Maybe last one I'm gonna read.
Dude, let's keep going. 40-hour podcast.
I can keep going all night.
No, it's not. I know you're getting tired.
Just for fun, which spirit animal would you describe Ash, and vice versa?
Your spirit animal? I'd say like a porcupine. Yeah. Like, it hurts if I touch you, but then you just kind of crawl around and you like burrow into the holes and then you do your work. That's not bad. A porcupine is pretty cool.
You fucking asshole.
That came so quick. That's how natural it was. That's real talk right there, dude.
I think you would be a koala.
That's cool. I love koalas.
They have chlamydia though.
They have chlamydia. They're also savage assholes too.
Savage assholes.
They look cute, but man,
because you like on the surface you look cuddly and like, oh, he's a nice guy, but like once you get wet, you look like you came out of an asshole.
And that's exactly. You're just being mean. I was being real nice about the porcupine. I was giving you a compliment. So not Dan Martin asked Showtime updates. I think we talked a bit about Showtime. I'm actually painting over a backplate for one of the shots right now, and you're probably working on it right now too.
You motherfucker.
What?
Porcupine.
Sheesh. Somebody's going to be thinking about that tonight.
It's so funny. I found it funny.
It's true.
Kaisel was asking why do I love you both?
He always says that. Why do you love us? Why wouldn't you love us both? Why wouldn't you love us long time? I love Kaisel. He's such a sweetheart. He's killing it. I'm so happy for his success. And I had him on the podcast like within a month or so ago, and it's cool. I mean, he's a legitimate celebrity of art. It's cool, dude.
Yeah, he quickly became that. Fucking proud of him.
Yeah, he's chasing his dreams and he's freelancing and stuff. He's loving it, and his health is getting better. So
yeah, it changed him. Like the moment he left full-time job and started following his shit, it's a completely different person.
Yeah. There it goes.
Super happy
you can see it. You can see it in Peeps, you know.
Yep.
Okay, last question. Let me try and find one. This is a good one. Humanoid or Humaid. HUMAID.3 asks, is it worth learning to draw before learning 3D modeling? It's a very good question. I personally think for me that it's always important to learn how to draw for all of the skills that regard creativity and art. I think it's very important. That's just me. I think art and learning how to draw and connecting my mind to my hand over the years has helped me so much. And it makes my work and myself somewhat unique, I think, because I'm able to extract things personally, quickly, fast, instead of going in. So like if you want to learn how to do 3D modeling, that's fine. Eventually, if all you're doing is like modeling, your job is most likely going to get fulfilled by other things, because, AI learning and all that kind of stuff is going to take over a lot of these like remedial kind of things that nobody wants to do. But I would say it's so important. I think every artist, if you are creative, it's important for you to have a hand at art and to be able to express yourself that way. I think is really important. So,
yeah, I agree. Learning to draw, like you can see that artists that know how to draw or learn or are actually pursuing that craft are so much better now than just being 3D artists. A lot of people that go that route. Get better results over time, because like you can, there's always like with 3D getting to like a really good quality. Sometimes it's just like you can get very fast into very good quality, but then surpassing that last 5%, 10%, it's fucking time consuming to do it in 3D. Whereas if you can draw on top, like over paint, or how to paint, or how to draw, or like draw expressions and whatnot, that becomes so much easier, because you go, okay, I only need to get it to 80% because I can finish it up real quick with my painting skills, just even from like production perspective. But even just like once you know how to draw, like sometimes it's very easy to when you look at 3D, you get bogged down with specific details, and you lose perspective, and also there's also an aspect of like 3D and the perfection that comes of it from the render becomes very, very quote unquote CG, or very, very artificial. Yeah, and you might lose that that organic feel that comes from imperfections of drawing or imperfections of catching the light on surfaces. And that's why, like, what brush do you use? Well, usually that means that you like the kind of texture that those brushes produce, not necessarily the brush itself, or the way it's expressed. Like, yeah.
Yeah, knowing how to ask the right questions. I think that was another thing we should have said too about the skills that are really important, is knowing how to ask the right questions is really key.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you ask a question, you think that's what you're after, but in fact, if you sat there and thought about it, you go, oh, actually what I'm asking is this, so and that's just getting familiar with yourself. So
yeah. All right, dude, let's wrap it up.
No, it's time to keep going. It's like 2:00. Intense. You said it was intense. Let's keep going. Porcupine shit.
Porcupine shit. All right, koala.
The porcupine and the koala. Okay.
The Rinks and the Ronas.
Yeah. My last thoughts for everybody. Thanks first, Mache. Thanks for having me on. And last thoughts for everybody is just stay positive out there. Be thankful for, hopefully your health is good and your family and loved ones are in good health, and just take good care of yourself and those that you love, and try to respect like the domain that's happening. Like stay inside, try not to socialize with people so you don't continue this thing. And I also just think like spend this time to like be blessed with the fact that you have time to learn, and go out there and try to learn everything that you can, because this time is going to be limited. Everybody's going to have to go back to normal. This is going to only last so long. So take advantage of that and have a good time with it and enjoy it and celebrate it. Turn a bad thing into a good thing if you can, because it's totally worth it and it's within your power to do so. So
yeah, agree. We live in a world where content is king and is becoming a king. The content is more and more important. Disney is buying, what did they buy? Fox?
They bought everything.
Yeah, they bought everything, but they're buying it for content, and there is a reason for it. And this is the time where you can create content, because you might be in a situation where there's nothing else to do. And so like learning that skill. Yeah, 100% agree. And staying positive. Yeah. I think that's really important too. Like not reading news, not reading into it. Get like reliable news source. And I'm not talking about BBC or like any of those companies that talk about politics, the private news sources.
The porcupine and the koala will tell you the news.
Look at the real news sources for this specific thing, which would be universities and CDC or health organizations, WHO, like those companies that have actual people that work in the trenches and they know what the fuck they're talking about. So you can get the dose of what you need to know and be prepared and not get bothered by weird shit that comes out from news all the time, and like opinions about Joe Schmo, what he thinks that the pandemic is going to be like in
flat earth stuff.
It's like, what? You're not a doctor. Like, why are you talking?
Because they can.
Because they can. Yeah, exactly. And Twitter, like avoid Twitter.
Don't use Twitter. Yeah, seriously, during the pandemic, do not use Twitter. Yeah. That's literally the pandemic is Twitter. So. I avoid it and I don't use any of that shit.
Yeah.
Just have fun, have a good time, enjoy yourself, be safe, stock up, get your food, be smart about your decisions, and take this time to get better, learn a new skill, so that when you come back to the workforce, you have something cool,
something new
to offer, and then you'll kill it and you'll crush it and you'll have a new thing that's awesome. We'll all learn from it, and then you'll go make a gum road and we'll buy for $5, and then you'll make like $13 total for all your effort. And
hey, I'll buy it.
Yeah, I'll buy it too. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, homie. Appreciate for having me.
I appreciate for you joining the podcast. I should join yours one day. Maybe
you're welcome anytime.
Maybe once the film is done, we're gonna have a large topic to talk about for sure. But anytime you need a guest, fucking run out of juice, just let me know. Obviously,
or just
I don't even have to say that because you will let me know anyways.
I don't know why, but sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, anyone who joined this and was listening us for rumbling for almost 3 hours, thank you for that. I really appreciate you guys. We're doing this because I normally was planning to do podcasts every 2 weeks and recording ahead of time so I can be more flexible with my schedule. But with everything going on, I figured, this is a good opportunity to reach out to people, just say something positive or just ramble, I like to listen to podcasts when I work or when I, try to get myself busy with things and maybe find something inspiring. So if that's what it is for you, that's great. Leave a like, comment below the video, follow the podcast. Obviously this goes on YouTube, It's also posted always on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, all those places. So
you don't post it to Pornhub or RedTube?
No.
What's wrong with you,
Maybe
dude?
I should.
You should, dude.
Yeah, but you can find it everywhere. Stitcher and Google Plus, all those places. So really appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for listening, being a follower, and supporting the show. And big kisses. And stay healthy until the next time.
Yeah.
Cheers.
See y'all. Peace.
All right.